Chapter 624. Boom! As soon as he finished speaking, Fatso immediately activated the dragon transformation art and transformed into a dragon warrior. His terrifying aura shook the entire area. The group of crocodiles that were chasing from behind couldn't help but stop. They looked at Fatty with fear in their eyes. At this moment, the flaming battle chi that was shaped like a phoenix had already arrived above Qin Feiyang and the others. However, Fatso only waved his hand gently and the flaming battle chi dissipated into nothingness. Feng Wuxia, who was hiding in the mountains, widened his eyes in shock when he saw this scene. He defeated his superior battle art with a wave of his hand. Wasn't he too powerful? Feng Wuxia, don't run away today if you have the guts. Fatso stood with his hands behind his back. His clothes and hair fluttered in the wind as he pursed his lips in disdain. Needless to say, at this very moment he was quite imposing. Lu Xingchen glanced at Fatso and then at Qin Feiyang, who had his eyes closed. He couldn't help but sigh. Fatso and Wolf King, who were by Qin Feiyang's side, had already grown up. Furthermore, with his current strength, no one in the 9 great prefectures could match him. Once Qin Feiyang broke through to the War Master realm, there would be no suspense about the outcome of this 9 states war. Silence reigned in the mountain range. Feng Wuxia also didn't make any movements. But suddenly, a young man with an evil aura walked out of the forest on the shore of the swamp and entered the sight of Fatso and the others. Who else could it be but Feng Wuxia? He stood on a huge rock on the shore with his arms crossed in front of his chest. He glanced at Qin Feiyang, Lu Xingchen, and the black dragon snake before his gaze landed on Fatso. A scholar who has been away for 3 days must be looked at with new eyes. Your current strength is really beyond my expectations. Even though Fatso had displayed unparalleled strength, Feng Wuxia didn't seem to be afraid. Fatso said disdainfully, "Your strength is nothing." Really? Although my strength might be slightly inferior to yours, it might not be that easy for you all to reach the shore today. Feng Wuxia smiled. You? Fatso smiled contemptuously. He definitely won't be able to, but don't forget that the Kong state still has a lot of experts. Since he's here, the others must be nearby as well. Also, Yuzhou has allied with them. You've seen Wan Qiu's strength with your own eyes. He's definitely not an ordinary person. That's why we can't underestimate them. Lu Xingchen whispered. What does it matter? If 1 fat lord comes, I'll kill 1. If 2 come, I'll kill 2 fat lord. If they dare to come forward, Fat Lord will kill them all. Fatso said domineeringly. Ugh! Lu Xingchen was startled. He then shook his head helplessly. This guy was too full of himself. Next, he turned his head to look at Feng Wuxia and frowned. We didn't find any traces of you on the way. But how did you know that we would come here and ambush us here in advance? The swamp was extremely huge. They definitely didn't take the same route. Since the route was different, the location of the shore must be different. But now Feng Wuxia was blocking their way. Was it a coincidence? Well, some time ago we met a pair of siblings. They said that they could predict your location. So during this time I've been waiting for you here. I didn't expect that you would really come. Feng Wuxia said. Siblings? Lu Xingchen furrowed his brows. Who were these siblings? How did they have such an ability? Fatso sneered. So what? Fat Lord, I'd like to see how you're going to stop us from going ashore. King Crocodile, don't stop. At this moment the shore was close at hand. With King Crocodile's speed, it would only take a few blinks of an eye. If he can't, can I? But at this moment, a cold voice sounded. A red-haired young man rushed out of the forest and landed beside Feng Wuxia. Wan Qiu. Lu Xingchen's pupils constricted. What he was afraid of really happened. However, it wasn't over yet. For more people appeared one after another. They were all familiar faces. 3 of them were from Serene State. The last one was from Kong State. These 4 people had fought with Qin Feiyang and the others before. They were all 1-star combat ancestors. In that battle, Kong State and Serene State suffered heavy losses. Only 6 1-star combat ancestors and 3 2-star combat ancestors were left. The rest were all wiped out. Now these people were all here. Only Feng Hua and the pair of sisters were left. Where are the 2 girls in Feng Hua? Why don't I see them? Are they dead? Fatty was not worried at all. He had nothing to fear. Hearing the words girls, Feng Wuxie's eyes suddenly turned cold. Watch your mouth. Wan Chou and the other 4 one-star battle sex faces were also as gloomy as water, filled with dense hatred. Originally, they were confident of victory in this 9-state war. However, they didn't expect that they would almost be wiped out in that one battle. They had wanted to settle this score for a long time. You're angry? Don't tell me you like those 2 girls. And Wan Chou, do you think you can strategize just because you have a perfect auxiliary battle art? Last time they were still slaughtered by us. Fatso's face was full of ridicule. The angrier these people were, the more comfortable he felt. Cheap mouth. Killing intent surged in Wan Chou's eyes and his aura suddenly exploded. Fatso raised his eyebrows. Wan Chou's aura was that of a 3-star combat ancestor. The king crocodile behind them was suddenly frightened. Fatso said, "Don't be afraid." The king crocodile calmed down and continued to rush to the shore, but its speed was very slow. You can even tame the fierce beasts in the swamp. You have some ability. However, don't even think about going ashore today. Wan Chou's eyes were extremely cold. As he spoke, he waved his hand and a bloody light rushed into the sky, forming a sea of blood that floated in the sky. Moreover, there was also a terrifying murderous aura that surged out in all directions with the force of an avalanche. The group of crocodiles behind Qin Feiyang and the others turned around and fled without hesitation. Their eyes were filled with fear. This was because they couldn't interfere in the battle here. If they stayed, they would only die. Although they hated Qin Feiyang and the others, as well as the king crocodile who betrayed them, they valued their lives more. However, Fatso's expression didn't change as he calmly looked at the sea of blood. Hellstone beast. Wan Chou roared and the sea of blood that floated in the sky suddenly tumbled. Blood waves surged to the sky. Roar. Suddenly, a roar exploded in the sea of blood, resounding through the heavens and the earth. Following closely, a giant beast rushed out of the sea of blood, and its ferocious aura immediately shrouded all directions. This giant beast seemed to be made of rocks and was dozens of feet tall. It was like a towering mountain in the sky, and its entire body was filled with a violent and bloody aura. In a trance, it really looked like a demon from hell. Very strong. Lu Xingchen's pupils constricted. Fatso said, "No matter how strong it is, it's just a superior battle technique. Fat Lord is enough here. Go back and watch my boss, lest he accidentally falls into the swamp." Lu Xingchen nodded and immediately ran to Qin Feiyang's side. Ready for battle. The blood debt from back then can only be repaid with the blood of all of you. Wan Chou's body was surrounded by a murderous aura. As he waved his hand, the Hellstone beast thumped its chest and stomped its feet. It roared into the sky and charged towards Fatso. "Fat Lord, I'll return those words to you." Fatso also retracted his gaze and looked at Wan Chou. His eyes were as sharp as a blade, sharp and threatening. The Hellstone beast charged towards Fatso in an instant. Its huge fist was accompanied by gusts of wind, and its murderous aura was piercing to the bone. Boom! Fatso suddenly raised his arm, and his palm collided with the Hellstone beast's fist. Immediately, Black Dragon battle aura gushed out from his palms. Boom! With an earth-shattering sound, the Hellstone beast instantly disintegrated. But at the same time, Fatso's body also trembled, and he spat out a mouthful of blood. How could the king crocodile under his feet withstand such a terrifying force? Fatso stood on its back and its back broke on the spot. Its huge body sank into the swamp. "Hold on!" Fatso shouted. "Roar!" The king crocodile roared, forcibly stabilized its body, and rushed towards the shore without holding back. It was not stupid. If it continued to stay in the swamp, it would be very disadvantageous for Qin Feiyang and the others, and for itself, so it might as well go all out and rush ashore. Seeing this, Feng Wuxie raised his eyebrows and shouted, "Stop them from going ashore." The 4 one-star battle ancestors, as well as Feng Wuxie himself, immediately performed their battle arts. And they were all their strongest battle arts. Wan Chou was indifferent at this moment. He looked at Fatso with a dumbfounded expression. His face was filled with disbelief. Boom! 5 great battle arts appeared in an instant. Feng Wuxie's battle art was not the phoenix fire from before. but the fire beacon that had killed Fu Shan. Its aura was extremely shocking. A bunch of ants want to overturn the heavens? Fatty sneered. 5 black dragon battle auras roared out and crushed the 5 battle arts as easily as crushing dry weeds and smashing rotten wood. Feng Wuxie and the other 4 immediately vomited blood. In the form of a dragon warrior, Fatso's cultivation and defense had increased to a 6-star battle ancestor. In other words, with a casual wave of his hand, he had the battle power of a perfect battle art. Feng Wuxie and the other 4's strength was not bad, but compared to the current Fatso, they were too inferior. Boom! The king crocodile finally rushed ashore. It was also at this moment Wan Qiu came back to his senses and shouted, "Retreat!" Feng Wuxie and the other 4 looked at him in surprise. But Wan Qiu did not explain. Because Fatso had already jumped down from the king crocodile's back, there was no time to explain. With a wave of his hand, he swept up Feng Wuxie and the other 4, then turned around and used the perfect auxiliary battle art to rush into the forest without looking back. Weren't you very arrogant before? Why are you running away now? Fatso's eyes were filled with disdain. He raised his arm and pointed his index finger in the air. A stream of black dragon battle chi gushed out from his fingertip and blasted into the forest. With a loud bang, the ground hundreds of meters in front of them was instantly razed to the ground. A hole was blasted in the mountain ridge in front of them. Wan Qiu and the others were also sent flying by the terrifying aura. Blood spurted out of their mouths and their faces were filled with shock. What's going on? How long has it been? His strength has actually reached such a level? The 4 1-star battle ancestors got up from the ground in a sorry state and roared angrily. Feng Wuxie said in a deep voice, "According to my guess, that Fatso should have mastered the perfect slaughter battle art." Wan Qiu said, "It's not a guess, it's the truth." What? The 4 of them trembled both physically and mentally as waves surged in their hearts. But don't worry. Although his perfect battle art can increase his cultivation and defense, according to my observation, it can't increase his speed. If we want to leave, he can't stop us. What's more, if we really fight, I'm not afraid of him. Wan Qiu said, his eyes extremely sharp. Since you're so confident, why are you running away? Before he finished speaking. Chapter 625. The 6 of them turned around and saw Fatso walking towards them step by step. Black dragon battle chi swirled around his body, making him look like a real dragon. Running away? Wan Qiu turned around and looked at Fatso with disdain in his eyes. Fatso chuckled. A 3-star combat grandmaster and a perfect auxiliary combat art. If we really fight, Fat Lord might not even be your match. Good that you know. Wan Qiu sneered and said to Feng Wuxie and the others through telepathy, "You guys will only get in the way if you stay here. Leave first." The reason why he left earlier was to protect the 5 of them. Although he was confident that he could fight Fatso, he knew that there was an unstable factor in his opponent's strength. This factor was Qin Feiyang. With the unfathomable Qin Feiyang and the powerful Fatso, anything could happen. A 1-star combat grandmaster glanced behind Fatso and said, "Senior brother Wan Qiu, why don't you stall Fatso here? We'll go to the back and kill Qin Feiyang and the others." Wan Qiu paused. Think so. I observed carefully just now. Qin Feiyang is a 9-star combat emperor, the other is a 7-star combat emperor, the crocodile is a 1-star combat grandmaster, and only the snake is a 2-star combat grandmaster. As for the others from the spiritual state, we haven't seen them. They should have died in the swamp. With our strength, getting rid of them is as easy as flipping our hands, the other 3 1-star combat grandmasters also said. But don't forget that Qin Feiyang has an ancient castle. The others from the spiritual state might not be dead and are hiding inside. Feng Wuxie said to himself. He didn't agree with this suggestion as it was too risky. Even if they are hiding in the castle, we can just retreat. That's right. With our speed and strength, they can't stop us. Plus, you're a 2-star combat grandmaster now. With your Fire Phoenix battle soul, it's more than enough to deal with them. The 4 1-star battle ancestors said. Feng Wuxie pondered for a moment and said to himself, I can give it a try, but if something goes wrong, I must not fight and retreat immediately. Don't worry, we all cherish our lives. There was a hint of a smile in their eyes, but it was a very cold smile. Since all of you agree, I won't object. But I have a suggestion. Let's attack Qin Feiyang first. As I just noticed that his aura is not normal. He should be at the critical moment of a breakthrough. You all know that we can't be distracted at this time. Otherwise we might fall short of success. Wan Qiu transmitted his voice. Fatso looked at them playfully and said, "You guys are exchanging flirtatious glances over there. Are you guys trying to deal with my boss?" The 6 of them felt their hearts tremble. How could he guess that? Fatso's insight was truly astonishing. "You're thinking too much." Wan Qiu sneered and shouted, "Retreat." Feng Wuxia and the others immediately turned around and flew towards the mountain ridge. "Am I thinking too much?" Fatso muttered. He did not stop the 5 of them, but his eyes were somewhat thought-provoking. Suddenly, his gaze turned cold as he shouted, "Come on, let's settle the score from before today." "That's exactly what I was thinking." Wan Qiu's tone was also extremely cold. Boom! The 2 of them directly clashed. Wan Qiu had a perfect auxiliary battle art, so in terms of speed, he had an absolute advantage. If it were anyone else today, even if they had a perfect slaughter battle art, they would still be at a disadvantage. But Fatso was different. His dragon transformation art was not something that an ordinary perfect battle art could compare to. With a casual wave of his hand or a casual lift of his foot, he had the battle strength of a 6-star battle ancestor. He did not need time to evolve his battle art at all. Moreover, he did not need to compete with Wan Qiu in speed at all. He just stood there and countered his moves. For a moment, the 2 of them were locked in a fierce battle, neither of them having the upper hand. As for Feng Wuxia and the others, after leaving Fatso's line of sight, they turned around and went around the battlefield, rushing towards Qin Feiyang and the others. Feng Wuxia's eyes flashed coldly as he sent a voice transmission to the other 4. Be sure to kill them in one blow later. As long as they got rid of Qin Feiyang, this unstable factor, the others in the spiritual state were nothing to worry about. On the shore of the swamp, the king crocodile was lying in the grass, recuperating. Lu Xingqian stood beside the king crocodile, looking at Fatso and Wan Qiu with worry in his eyes. Black Dragon Snake, can you go and help him? If the Black Dragon Snake took action, together with Fatso, it would be easy to kill Wan Qiu. Help him? Not interested. The Black Dragon Snake was disdainful. Lu Xingqian looked helpless. As for Qin Feiyang, the appearance of Wan Qiu and the others did not affect him at all. He was still sitting cross-legged on the king crocodile's back. Time passed breath by breath. After 10 breaths, boom! Suddenly, 5 powerful auras emerged from the nearby forest. Then, 5 different battle arts whizzed towards Qin Feiyang. Lu Xingqian was shocked. He turned around and immediately saw a familiar battle art. It was Feng Wuxia's flowing fire of the phoenix. Then, he looked past the battle arts and looked at the forest behind him. He saw Feng Wuxia and the other 4 rush out of the forest, full of murderous intent. At the same time, Fatso, who was fighting with Wan Qiu, turned around and looked back. Just as Fat Lord expected, they will return to kill boss. But, who will kill who? I'm looking forward to it. He muttered to himself. While fighting with Wan Qiu, he sneered. You guys are really despicable. Haven't you heard of this saying? The winner is the king and the loser is the bandit. Wan Qiu didn't care. At the same time, he attacked with all his strength and firmly restrained Fatso, not allowing Fatso to escape. But he didn't know that Fatso had no intention of saving Qin Feiyang and the others. In the blink of an eye, on the shore, seeing Feng Wuxia and the other 4, Lu Xingqian immediately shouted angrily, Is this the style of the Kong state and you state? But the 5 of them ignored him. They only had Qin Feiyang in their eyes. Naive. Lu Xingqian shook his head. Although Fatso wasn't here, there was a terrifying beast emperor here. Clang! The black dragon snake attacked, and it decisively took out its reverse scale. The giant reverse scale flickered with a cold glint like a sharp blade as it slashed across the sky and collided with the 5 battle arts. Boom! With a loud bang, the 4 one-star battle arts were destroyed on the spot. Blood spurted out of their mouths. Feng Wuxia's phoenix fire and the reverse scale were in a stalemate for a moment before disintegrating. Cracks appeared on the reverse scale, but they were instantly repaired. How is this possible? Feng Wuxie and the others were stunned. They knew that the black dragon snake was a 2-star battle ancestor, but they never expected it to be so strong. What the hell was that scale? It could destroy their battle arts without breaking? It was only at this moment that they realized what the pondering look in the fatty's eyes meant. It was mocking them for overestimating themselves. At the same time, the black dragon snake looked at the 5 of them in disdain and said, "You trash dare to sneak attack us? You must be tired of living. Let's go." Feng Wuxie came back to his senses and made a prompt decision to retreat. "Since you're here, don't leave." The black dragon snake's eyes shone fiercely. Clang! The reverse scale let out an ear-piercing sound and charged toward the 5 of them like lightning with an apocalyptic sharpness. Its speed was even faster than the 5 of them running away. "You guys go, I'll stop it." Feng Wuxie saw that the situation was bad and suddenly turned around. His long hair fluttered in the air as he roared, "Fire Beacon City." Above his head, a sea of fire suddenly appeared. In the sea of fire, 2 huge cities floated, as if 2 ancient demon cities had appeared, releasing a vast aura. Boom! The first city fell with a loud bang, causing the ground to tremble. Clang! The first city collided with the reverse scale and was in a stalemate. The city was torn apart and cracks appeared on the reverse scale. But the black dragon snake was not afraid at all. It continued to control the reverse scale and attacked the second city, because it was confident that before it collided with the second city, the cracks on the reverse scale would be repaired. However, Lu Xingchen roared at this moment, "Don't fight it head-on, dodge it first." When Feng Wuxie and Fushan fought, he was at the scene, so he knew about the Fire Beacon City. The speed of the second city's descent was several times faster than the first city. At this speed, the second city could collide with the reverse scale before it repaired itself. At that time, the reverse scale would definitely shatter. Once the reverse scale was destroyed, the black dragon snake's cultivation would immediately fall to a 1-star battle ancestor. At that time, not only would it not be able to kill Feng Wuxie and the other 4, but it would also be killed by them. But the black dragon snake did not know this. Hearing Lu Xingchen's reminder, it wanted to take back the reverse scale, but it was too late. Boom! The second city came crashing down. A loud explosion resounded through the sky. Without any suspense, the reverse scale was instantly shattered and the black dragon snake's aura suddenly plummeted. However, that city was also shattered by the reverse scale. It could be considered a mutual destruction. After shattering the reverse scale, Feng Wuxie was ready to turn around and leave. Lu Xingchen also breathed a sigh of relief. As long as Feng Wuxie left, the crisis would naturally be gone. But after taking 2 steps, Feng Wuxie suddenly stopped and turned to look at the black dragon snake. His eyes filled with surprise. Obviously, he noticed the abnormality of the black dragon snake. Battle Soul open. Suddenly, behind Feng Wuxie, a wave of fire rushed into the sky. A fire phoenix flapped its huge wings and floated in the sky. Although he did not know what was going on, his experience told him that the destruction of the scale had caused a serious injury to the black dragon snake. At his cultivation level, he naturally knew how to grasp the opportunity, so he did not hesitate to open his battle soul and give Qin Feiyang and the others a fatal blow. Innate divine power, heavenly phoenix eye. Following Feng Wuxie's cold shout, the fire phoenix closed its eyes and suddenly opened them again. 2 bright beams of light burst out of its eyes, exuding a destructive aura, and charged towards Qin Feiyang and the others. "Dodge!" Lu Xingchen shouted and hurriedly dodged to the side. The black dragon snake and the king crocodile were also shocked and ran for their lives. "Little bug, do you know now? No matter who you are facing, you cannot underestimate them. If you were careful just now, you would not have suffered such a big loss." But at this moment a calm voice sounded. Qin Feiyang, Lu Xingchen, the king crocodile, and the black dragon snake were overjoyed. Boom! At the same time, Qin Feiyang, who was sitting cross-legged on the king crocodile's back, suddenly unleashed his aura. He was now a 1-star combat grandmaster. "I've finally broken through," Qin Feiyang muttered to himself. He suddenly opened his eyes, and 2 cold rays of light shot out of them. "Now that this fellow is awake, it'll be fine." Lu Xingchen smiled. The king crocodile and the black dragon snake did not run anymore. Qin Feiyong stood up and leaped down from the king crocodile's back. He looked up at Feng Wuxia and said, "The siblings are amazing for being able to predict our location. However, I don't know if they've foreseen that all of you will die today." His voice was calm, but it was filled with a majestic aura that sent chills down one's spine. As soon as he finished speaking, flames shot up from behind him. The 9-leaf fire lotus had appeared. Clang! 2 leaves fell off and shot toward the 2 beams of light. Explode! When they were near, Qin Feiyong spoke indifferently. The 2 fire lotus leaves suddenly exploded, giving birth to a destructive power. The 2 beams of light instantly dissipated into nothingness. Indeed, the fire phoenix is a rare battle soul. However, it's nothing compared to me. As soon as Qin Feiyong finished speaking, he no longer cared about the fire phoenix. He used the phantom steps and charged toward Feng Wuxia. "We'll see." Feng Wuxia's eyes gleamed. In the end, he chose to avoid the attack. He turned around and left, but he did not recall his battle soul. Chirp! The fire phoenix let out a high-pitched cry. It flapped its wings and charged toward Qin Feiyong ferociously. Feng Wuxia wanted to use the fire phoenix to buy him enough time to leave. However, he did not know. He would regret this decision for the rest of his life. Qin Feiyong stopped in his tracks. He looked at Feng Wuxia's back and said softly, "Since you've left your battle soul behind, don't even think about taking it back." After he finished speaking, Wolf King appeared out of thin air. Qin Feiyong said, "Strip him of his battle soul." "Easy." Wolf King chuckled. A huge golden beast appeared behind him. He shouted, "Devour!" Immediately, the golden beast opened its mouth wide. A gust of wind rose in this place. The fire phoenix flew toward the mouth uncontrollably. "What's going on?" Feng Wuxia, who was fleeing, was horrified. He was shocked to discover that he had lost contact with his battle soul. He turned around immediately. When he saw the golden beast, his face turned pale immediately. The fire phoenix was about to enter the golden beast's mouth. However, at this moment a terrifying battle chi shot out and struck the fire phoenix. Boom! The fire phoenix was annihilated on the spot. "Who's there? Come out and die." Chapter 626. "It's us." A bone-piercing cold voice rang out. 3 young men and women rushed out from the forest. It was Feng Hua and the twin sisters. The 4 one-star battle ancestors who had escaped earlier also followed behind the 3 of them, their eyes filled with hatred. Qin Feiyong was surprised. The auras emitted by Feng Hua and the twin sisters were much stronger than before. It was obvious that they had broken through a small realm like Feng Wuxia. Feng Hua was a 2-star battle ancestor. The twin sisters were both 3-star battle ancestors. Xuening looked at Wolf King, then looked at Qin Feiyong and said, "You damn pervert, today I will definitely dig out your eyeballs and feed them to the dogs." Qin Feiyong smiled and asked, "Are you that confident?" Feng Wuxia laughed. "On our side, there are 2 3-star battle ancestors, 2 2-star battle ancestors, and 4 1-star battle ancestors. What do you have to fight us?" "Is that so? Then I'll get rid of those small fries first." After Qin Feiyong finished speaking, he immediately took a step forward and headed straight for the 4 1-star battle ancestors. "Don't even think about it." Xuening and Xuerer shouted coldly at the same time and blocked in front of Qin Feiyong. Their pale golden hair was like a waterfall, their clothes fluttered, and their eyes were incomparably sharp. "Little Qinzi, leave these 2 girls to me." Wolf King roared and instantly turned into a muscular wolf that was more than 10 meters tall. His millstone-sized eyes were filled with a terrifying, ferocious light. "No need." Qin Feiyong shook his head, because he wanted to see how strong he was after breaking through to 1-star battle ancestor. "Arrogant. Arrogant. Damn pervert." Originally, when the sisters heard that Wolf King was going to make a move, they were rather nervous. This was because Wolf King's methods were somewhat unfathomable, especially his battle soul. But they never thought that Qin Feiyong would reject Wolf King's help. Seemed like this was a good thing. He no longer had to worry about Wolf King's battle soul. However, looking at it from another angle, Qin Feiyong's behavior was simply naked contempt for them. Therefore, they were very angry. I'll say it one last time. I didn't peek at you guys bathing. Qin Feiyong frowned impatiently. He raised both his hands and slammed them down. You dare to do it, but you don't dare to admit it. You are not a man. The two sisters firmly believed that Qin Feiyong was a peeping Tom. The aura of a 3-star war master completely erupted as they extended their jade-like hands towards Qin Feiyong without showing any signs of weakness. Boom! However, on the eve of their meeting, a golden character appeared on Qin Feiyong's palms. Return formula. Ah! The 4 palms collided, and the two sisters were sent flying. Blood gushed out of their mouths, and their faces were deathly pale. Xuening Xuero. Feng Wuxia and Feng Hua roared as they activated their battle arts and charged towards Qin Feiyong angrily. Even they can't stop me, let alone you guys. I'll kill those 4 in 3 breaths. Qin Feiyong pointed at the 4 1-star war masters with a sharp gaze. Run! Feng Hua's pupils contracted as he shouted at the 4. The 4 of them turned back because they saw the sisters coming. They thought that with the sisters' strength, Feng Hua and Feng Wuxia, they would definitely be able to kill Qin Feiyong and avenge their humiliation. However, they never expected that in just one round, the sisters would be sent flying by Qin Feiyong. Seeing this scene, they were already panicking. Now that they heard Feng Hua's cold shout, they didn't dare to hesitate and turned to run. But just as they were running away, Qin Feiyong waved his hand and golden light burst out. Boom! Feng Wuxia and Feng Wuxia's battle arts changed sides and attacked the 2 of them. Their expressions changed drastically as they hurriedly dodged to the side. The 2 battle arts blasted onto the ground, causing dust and dirt to fly everywhere, forming a huge crater. Although Feng Wuxia and Feng Wuxia had dodged, they were still sent flying by the shockwave. Qin Feiyong looked at the 2 of them and raised his hand. Ultimate destruction. But the target was not Feng Wuxia and Feng Hua, but the 4 1-star war masters. An invisible force roared out, exuding the power to destroy the world. Feeling the terrifying killing move approaching quickly, the 4 of them turned pale with fear, wishing that they could grow a few pairs of wings. Spread out. Seeing this, Feng Wuxia and Feng Wuxia were also extremely anxious, but it was too late to save them now. So, instead of being wiped out by Qin Feiyong, it was better to let them spread out. Maybe 1 or 2 could be saved. Hearing this, the 4 of them didn't dare to hesitate and immediately spread out. In the blink of an eye, boom! The invisible force arrived, causing the earth to collapse and the ancient trees to shatter. This area was directly razed to the ground. The 4 of them were also instantly drowned by the terrifying shockwave, and their screams resounded through the clouds. Are they dead? Feng Hua and Feng Wuxia looked at that place anxiously. Xuening and her sister also ran over, their faces full of worry and anger. Brother, come and take a look too. Are they dead? Wolf King chuckled and waved his claws. A gust of wind appeared out of thin air, sweeping up the dust and ashes in the sky and rushing into the distance. Everything was clear in front of their eyes. They saw the 4 1-star war masters lying quietly in a pool of blood, their bodies a mess of flesh and blood, and they could no longer sense any signs of life. Obviously, they were dead. This is impossible. Looking at the 4 corpses, Feng Wuxia and the other 3 clenched their hands tightly, their faces full of disbelief. They clearly didn't hit them head-on. How could they die? Wolf King said contemptuously, for little Qin Zi who has mastered 3 perfect battle arts, isn't it easy to kill them? 3 perfect battle arts. The 4 of them trembled. Who was this Qin Feiyong? Not only did Fatso beside him have perfect battle arts, but he also mastered 3. Oh my god. How could they live like this? Qin Feiyong said indifferently, okay, the hindrance has been eliminated, now it's your turn. Xuero suddenly turned to stare at Qin Feiyong and hissed, you're a madman, a demon. Yes, I'm a madman. Do you remember what I said to you last time? The show has just begun. Now it's time for you to pay the price for everything you've done. None of you should think about living. Qin Feiyong's eyes were filled with murderous intent, and a red sword energy appeared. Clang! 10 sword shadows appeared out of thin air. Goyuan sword technique. Each sword shadow had the power of a perfect battle art. Let's see how many of them you can block. Qin Feiyong waved his hand, and a sword shadow with a monstrous sharpness slashed towards the four of them. Don't be complacent too early. Feng Hua pushed Feng Wuxia and the other two aside and took a step forward, his entire body emitting a bright golden light. Golden body technique. With a low roar, his skin, eyes, and long hair all turned golden, as if they were plated with a layer of gold leaf. Following that, he raised his fist and actually punched the sword shadow with his bare hands. Clang! The sword shadow and fist collided, and an ear-splitting metallic sound exploded. Feng Hua's current body was as if it was cast from divine iron, causing Qin Feiyang to be rather surprised. The first sword shadow dissipated. On Feng Hua's fist, there was only a small scratch, which showed how astonishing his defense was. Of course, this was all thanks to Feng Hua's cultivation. Although the golden body technique was only a high-grade battle art, his two-star war master cultivation made up for his shortcomings. Although the Guiyuan sword technique was a perfect battle art, Qin Feiyang was only a one-star war master. The two of them could be said to be about the same. However, to Qin Feiyang, Feng Hua's strength did not pose much of a threat to him. This was because the number of Guiyuan sword techniques would increase as one's cultivation increased. War Master Realm could condense 10 sword shadows. War Emperor Realm 20 sword shadows. Now that he had broken through to the War Master Realm, he could condense 30 sword shadows. These 30 sword shadows were equivalent to 30 great killing moves. Could Feng Hua withstand them? The second sword shadow descended. Feng Hua relied on the powerful defense of his body to shatter the sword shadow, but the wound on his fist became bigger and bigger. By the fourth sword shadow, his wound was so deep that his bones could be seen, and blood was flowing out. Moreover, his entire arm was lacerated. "I'll take your life now," Qin Feiyang shouted coldly, and the remaining 5 sword shadows all descended in an instant. A sense of fear rose in Feng Hua's heart. He did not dare to take it head-on. This was because these 5 sword shadows were enough to break through his golden body's defense and shatter his bones. Previous chapter, next chapter. Boom. At this moment Feng Wuxia moved. He landed beside Feng Hua in one step and shouted at him, "Attack! Fire Beacon City! Wind Shock Slash!" The two great two-star war sect experts joined forces and did not hold back at all. High up in the sky, the sea of fire churned and waves of fire surged. 2 huge cities stood tall and majestic, emitting a vast might. Below, a huge golden sword was lying horizontally in the air. It was more than 100 feet long and released tens of thousands of sword qi. Its sharpness was oppressive. "Qin Feiyang, let us tell you now in front of our Kong state, you do not have the capital to be arrogant. Kill!" The two of them shouted. The 2 cities, the huge golden sword immediately smashed towards the 5 sword shadows. Boom! Crack! It was as if comets had collided, erupting with boundless light. The destructive aura was earth-shattering. The nearby mountains continued to collapse, and the flowers and trees were turned into ashes. In the blink of an eye, the thousands of meters of land was like a land of death. Not a single blade of grass was left. At the same time, 2 screams rang out. Feng Hua and Feng Hua flew out like meteors. Their bodies were covered in blood and dyed the sky red. Qin Feiyang was also constantly retreating. His face was pale and a trace of blood flowed out from the corner of his mouth. But compared to Feng Hua and Feng Wuxia, his injuries were nothing. Bang! He stepped on the ground and stabilized his body. He no longer paid attention to Feng Wuxia and Feng Hua, and shifted his gaze to Xuanning and Feng Hua. The 2 sisters were also filled with anger. "You are both 3-star war sect experts, don't disappoint me." Qin Feiyang wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth. His body shook and a red sword qi broke out from his body and rushed into the sky. Clang! In the blink of an eye, 20 sword shadows were formed. Each sword shadow released a terrifying sharpness. For a moment, the world seemed to be filled with countless invisible blades. The sisters' skin was aching. The 2 girls could not help but feel apprehensive. Although their cultivation surpassed Qin Feiyang's by 2 small realms, the methods that Qin Feiyang displayed at this moment were truly too shocking, causing them to involuntarily feel panic. But Qin Feiyang's contemptuous gaze and disdainful tone made them extremely angry. "Qin Feiyang, don't look down on us women." Frost darts. The 2 girls' gazes turned cold. As they waved their hands, a cold wind blew and the temperature plummeted. Even the sky was fluttering with heavy snow. In the blink of an eye, the place had turned into a snowy glacier. The cold current was bone-chilling. Qin Feiyang's eyes were filled with astonishment as he asked, "Both of you have grasped the same battle art?" "Yes. Although the frost arts is only a high-grade battle art, the effect of the two of us combined is infinitely close to a perfect battle art." The tone of the two sisters was like the temperature at the moment. It carried a bone-chilling coldness. "Nothing is too strange in this world," Qin Feiyang mumbled. However, with the cultivation of a 3-star battle ancestor and the frost arts infinitely close to a perfect battle art, this pair of sisters might really be a tough nut to crack. Clang! With a wave of his hand, 20 sword shadows whizzed out and locked onto the two sisters. Frost arts freeze. The two girls looked at each other and shouted coldly at the same time. The snowflakes floating in the air rushed towards the 20 sword shadows. In less than 3 breaths, the 20 sword shadows turned into 20 icicles and were frozen in the air. Bung! After freezing the sword shadows, the two girls shouted coldly again. Crack! Words were law. The 20 icicles shattered and turned into countless pieces of ice that fell from the sky. Qin Feiyang was stunned. They dissolved his Guan sword art just like that? It seemed that these two girls were even harder to crack than he had imagined. Xuening said, "If we weren't together, we might not be your match. But now that we've teamed up, you have no chance of winning." "Is that so? I wonder if you can freeze invisible things." Qin Feiyang raised his arm and pointed his index finger in the air. An invisible force surged out. The pupils of the two sisters contracted. In a trance, they seemed to see a beast hiding in the air, baring its fangs and brandishing its claws as it pounced towards them. Frost arts condense. The two girls didn't dare to be negligent and waved their hands. Immediately, the snowflakes that filled the sky gathered together and condensed into a thick ice wall in the air in front of them. Boom! Accompanied by a loud sound, the invisible force smashed onto the ice wall. However, only a few cracks appeared on the ice wall. Seeing this, the two sisters let out a sigh of relief and a trace of contempt appeared in their eyes. "Right now, our strength is comparable to that of a 6-star battle ancestor. And you, although you have a perfect battle art, you're only a 1-star battle ancestor. The battle strength you can display is at most a 5-star battle ancestor. Tell us, where did your chances of winning come from?" "I was originally a bit worried, but I didn't expect you to be so weak. If you don't want to die without a complete corpse, then immediately commit suicide to apologize." The two girls shouted. "Commit suicide to apologize? It seems that you've all become arrogant." Qin Feiyang laughed. Chapter 627. Fight! Qin Feiyang shouted coldly. Boom! A monstrous battle intent rushed out of his body and into the sky. At the same time, his long hair and eyes quickly turned blood-red as if they were dyed in blood. Feeling the battle intent rushing towards them, the sisters couldn't help but tremble. In a trance, they seemed to have seen the return of an invincible god of war. Qin Feiyang looked at them and said calmly, "What other tricks do you have? Show me everything or you won't have another chance." Damn pervert, how arrogant. Snowstorm. The two girls were furious. They waved their hands and a violent wind suddenly appeared. The snowflakes that filled the sky danced with the wind and condensed into a giant snow-white tornado that roared towards Qin Feiyang. Whoosh! Qin Feiyang took a step forward and went up to meet him with a palm strike. Golden light burst out. The snowstorm immediately stopped in the void and then whistled toward the sisters. What kind of battle technique is he using? The two girls' eyes were full of shock, and they quickly condensed an ice wall in the void in front of them. Boom! The snowstorm fiercely blasted towards the ice wall. The two girls' delicate bodies trembled and they immediately spat out a mouthful of blood. Giving you a taste of your own medicine. This is the ability of my battle technique. Qin Feiyang said calmly and took another step forward, instantly closing the distance between him and the two girls. His long hair and clothes fluttered in the wind, and his aura was like a rainbow. The sisters' hearts sank. From Qin Feiyang, they felt that he would kill any god or demon that stood in his way. They deeply realized that today, between the spiritual state and the Kong state, it would be either you die or I die. They made a prompt decision. The two girls used their strongest battle technique. Dance of Death. The snowflakes floating in the void suddenly danced. At first glance, it looked like a group of beautiful girls wearing white dresses dancing in the air, dazzling the eyes. But at this moment, each snowflake emitted a shocking sharpness, like an indestructible sharp blade. Damn pervert, it's over. The two women's gazes were cold and piercing. With a wave of their jade-like hands, the dancing snowflakes suddenly turned into a torrent, filling the sky and surging towards Qin Feiyang. His aura firmly locked onto Qin Feiyang. I should be the one saying that. Qin Feiyang's eyes were overflowing with bloody light, as if there was a sea of blood in his eye sockets. He pushed his hands forward, and two golden lights suddenly appeared. As soon as the golden light appeared, it was like a raging wave in a vast ocean, fiercely rushing forward. Boom! Crack! The moment the two met, there was a stalemate in the void. The golden light was like a shield. Snowflakes crazily crashed into it, but they were all bounced back by the golden light and collided with the snowflakes behind them. Immediately, this place glowed brightly. The destructive shockwave was earth-shattering, destroying everything in the vicinity. Qin Feiyang's face gradually turned pale. Although the ability of the return formula could be said to be heaven-defying, the cultivation of the two sisters was two small realms higher than him. Moreover, the Dance of Death was also their trump card. For a moment he couldn't do anything to the two girls. But at the same time, the two sisters' faces were even paler than Qin Feiyang's. In his heart, waves were surging. One had to know. Qin Feiyang was only a one-star war master. Facing the combined forces of two three-star war masters, he was actually able to steadily gain the upper hand? If he were to break through to a two-star war master or a three-star war master, who would be his match in the entire 9 provinces? They really couldn't figure it out. Qin Feiyang's battle art of returning the favor to himself, what level did it belong to? Could it be that it had already surpassed the perfect battle art? But in this world, wasn't the perfect battle art already the top battle art? Puff! 5 breaths later, the two girls couldn't help but spit out a mouthful of blood, their faces deathly pale. On the other hand, Qin Feiyang, although there were injuries, he didn't look weak at all. His spirit was hale and hearty. When the two sisters noticed this, they once again fell into deep disbelief. Could it be that this damn pervert was an unkillable cockroach? 10 breaths later, the two sisters' bodies began to tremble violently. The blood that flowed out of their mouths had already dyed their clothes red. It was also at this moment, Qin Feiyang's eyes surged with killing intent as he said, "It's time to send you on your way." Boom! His arms shook, and a terrifying battle intent soared into the clouds. At the same time, an even more majestic golden light gushed out from his palms. The remaining snowflakes were all bounced back in an instant. Whiz! The snowflakes were like blades, accompanied by an ear-piercing sound as they shot towards the two sisters. Seeing this scene, the two women's faces were ashen. Their entire bodies were cold, and a sense of despair that could not be dissolved rose in their hearts. The god of death had descended. His life was in danger. Boom! But at this moment, a sudden change occurred. A resplendent beam of light, carrying an astonishing aura, shot out from the forest beside them. Boom! The snowflakes were instantly crushed. Qin Feiyang raised his eyebrows. He turned to look at the forest beside him, and immediately saw a black shadow that turned and fled into the distance. "How dare you ruin my plans?" Qin Feiyang's eyes were filled with a trace of hostility, and he shouted without turning his head, "White-eyed wolf." Understood. Wolf King immediately used the void escape step and chased after the black shadow. Immediately, Qin Feiyang turned back to look at the Shui sisters, his eyes filled with killing intent. But the place where the sisters were before was already empty. Immediately, Qin Feiyang's eyes darkened. He looked up and saw that 300 meters away, the two sisters were carrying a person each, quickly escaping. The two sisters were carrying Feng Wuxia and Feng Hua. Something's wrong. Suddenly, Qin Feiyang's expression changed, and he chased after the 4 of them. Because the two sisters were heading towards the place where Fatso and Wan Qiu were fighting, obviously to help Wan Qiu escape. Boom! More than 10 breaths passed. Suddenly there was a deafening explosion in front of them. "Bastard, don't run if you have the guts." Following closely, Fatso's angry voice sounded. Hearing this, Qin Feiyang's heart turned cold, and he did not continue to chase after them. Because Wan Qiu had grasped the perfect support technique and was also a 3-star war master, with his current speed it was impossible for him to catch up. Not long later, Qin Feiyang saw Fatso rushing towards him. As soon as Fatso arrived in front of Qin Feiyang, he frowned. "Boss, what are you doing? Why did you let those 2 little girls run away?" Qin Feiyang said in a deep voice. Originally they were all going to die, but at the critical moment, someone secretly helped them. "Who?" Fatso was surprised. Qin Feiyang shook his head. "I didn't see it clearly either, but I told the white-eyed wolf to chase after them. Let's go and meet up with Lu Xingqian first." Fatso nodded. However, when the two came to the swamp, they found that Lu Xingqian was gone, and only the black dragon snake and the crocodile king were there. Qin Feiyang looked at the black dragon snake and the crocodile king and asked, "Where is Lu Xingqian?" The two beasts were slightly stunned. They looked around with confusion in their eyes. Fatso said angrily, "Speak." The black dragon snake shook its head and said, "Our attention was on Qin Feiyang just now, and we didn't notice when he left." Heard. Qin Feiyang and Fatso looked at each other with a trace of suspicion in their eyes. Lu Xingqian disappeared, and the mysterious man appeared. Was this a coincidence? Whoosh! Soon, a sound of breaking air came from the left side of the forest, and Wolf King landed in front of Qin Feiyang like lightning. Qin Feiyang asked, "How is it?" Wolf King said, "That man's speed was very fast. I couldn't catch up with him, and I didn't see his face clearly." "What? Even Wolf King couldn't catch up with him?" Qin Feiyang and Fatso looked at each other. Didn't that mean that the mysterious man's cultivation was stronger than Wolf King's? Was there such a person in the other 8 states? Wolf King was suddenly stunned. He looked around and asked doubtfully, "Where is Lu Xingqian?" "I was about to ask you. When you went to chase the mysterious man, was Lu Xingqian here?" Qin Feiyang transmitted his voice. The crocodile king was subdued by Lu Xingqian, so there were some things that couldn't be said face to face. Wolf King thought carefully and replied secretly, "I didn't pay attention to him at that time, so I didn't know." "Why? Are you suspecting Lu Xingqian?" "Impossible, he is just a 7-star combat emperor. He doesn't have the strength." Qin Feiyang frowned. He was indeed suspecting Lu Xingqian, because Lu Xingqian's departure was too coincidental. But Wolf King's words were not without reason. Lu Xingqian didn't have the ability to do so. But what was going on? Why did Lu Xingqian leave without saying anything? Whoosh! At this moment, another ear-piercing sound came from the forest on the right. Qin Feiyang turned his head and saw a white figure rushing over. Who else could it be but Lu Xingqian? Seeing Qin Feiyang and the others gathered together, Lu Xingqian was slightly stunned and said in surprise, "Have you killed Wan Qiu and the others?" "No, they were rescued by a mysterious man." Qin Feiyang shook his head. "What?" Lu Xingqian's face froze and he said in surprise, "Who is this man who can rescue them from your hands?" Qin Feiyang said, "We don't know. We didn't see his face clearly. By the way, where did you go just now?" After being asked by Qin Feiyang, Lu Xingqian suddenly thought of something and said in a low voice, "Let's not talk about the mysterious man later. I'll take you to a place first." When he spoke, he looked a little excited. "Where is it?" Qin Feiyang and the others were suspicious. "You'll know when we get there." Lu Xingqian smiled mysteriously and turned to lead Qin Feiyang and the others to the forest on the right. About 50 breaths passed. They came to a valley. The valley covered an area of hundreds of feet and was surrounded by mountains on all sides. There was no entrance or exit. Fatso glanced at the valley and asked, "What is this place?" "You'll know when you get there." Lu Xingqian led the others to climb to the top of the mountain on the left. The mountain was only 100 feet high. They soon reached the top of the mountain. Lu Xingqian gestured for them to be quiet and walked to the edge. At the edge, they stood in the grass and looked into the valley. Immediately, Qin Feiyang, Fatso, Wolf King, Black Dragon Snake, and King Crocodile couldn't help but feel their scalps tingle. They saw that there were countless bones piled up in the valley. The white scene was like a hell. There were bones of both beasts and humans. Fatso said in surprise, "What the hell is this place? There are so many bones." Lu Xingchen pointed to a place and said, "The bones are not important. The flower is the key." Flower? Qin Feiyang and the others were stunned. They looked in the direction Lu Xingchen pointed at for a while, and their gazes suddenly locked onto a skull. That skull was the skull of a ferocious beast. And in the middle of the skull, there was a blooming flower. This flower was rooted on the skull and was the size of a baby's fist. Its shape was similar to a snow lotus. It was white as if it was carved out of bones. However, it was different from the snow lotus. It only had 3 leaves which flickered with an eerie white luster, giving people a gloomy feeling. Fatso looked at it for a while and asked, "Is this a snow lotus? How can a snow lotus grow on a skeleton?" Qin Feiyang rolled his eyes at him. However, this flower did look somewhat familiar. Lu Xingchen said, "This is the flower of death." Flower of death? Why haven't I heard of it? Fatso was surprised. Wolf King, King Crocodile and Black Dragon Snake were also surprised. But at the same time Qin Feiyang's eyes lit up. After Lu Xingchen's reminder, he finally remembered the relevant records of the flower of death. Fatso noticed Qin Feiyang's strange expression and was stunned. He said, "Boss, there's something wrong with your eyes. Could it be some kind of treasure? But why does the name Flower of Death sound like an ominous item?" Qin Feiyang said, "In a sense, the Flower of Death is indeed an ominous item." "What do you mean? Is there another meaning?" Fatso was puzzled. Qin Feiyang nodded and looked up at Lu Xingchen. "Since you know that it's the Flower of Death, you must know the use of the Flower of Death. Explain it to everyone." Lu Xingchen said, "I only heard about it from hearsay. I don't know the details. It's better for you to explain." Qin Feiyang smiled faintly. "We're all smart people. Why bother pretending?" Lu Xingchen was stunned, then shook his head and smiled bitterly. "Brother Qin, can't you be more tactful with your words? At least leave me some face." Qin Feiyang secretly sneered and said, "I've always been this straightforward. If Brother Lu is not used to it, I'll try to correct it in the future." "That's not necessary. I like to deal with straightforward people like you. Okay, I'll talk about the Flower of Death. The Flower of Death itself carries a strong poison that can kill instantly. It's no exaggeration to say that even a combat master would die if touched. Moreover, except for a special flower called the Jade Crystal Flower, nothing can detoxify it, including antidote pills. Of course, the legendary divine pills and miraculous medicines are a different matter." Lu Xingchen said, "It's that scary?" Hearing this, when they looked at the Flower of Death again, Fatso, Wolf King, Black Dragon Snake, and King Crocodile's eyes were filled with fear. "It's indeed very scary. However, it has another name, the Flower of Immortality," Lu Xingchen said. Flower of Death, Flower of Immortality. Why are these two names so contradictory? Fatso was a little puzzled and asked, "Do you mean that the Flower of Death will never wither and will never die?" "No. The Flower of Death will wither. What I mean by immortality is that it can be refined into a magical elixir that can save lives," Lu Xingchen said. Black Dragon Snake said, "That's not right. Didn't you just say that the Flower of Death carries a strong poison? Shouldn't it be refined into a fatal poison pill?" "You're right. But I also said that there's a special flower called the Jade Crystal Flower that can detoxify the Flower of Death. As long as the Flower of Death and the Jade Crystal Flower are combined, the poison can be neutralized and become a life-saving elixir." Lu Xingchen smiled. "What kind of elixir can be refined into these two special flowers? What magical effects do they have?" Fatso asked. Chapter 628. Essence Soul Pill. This pill has the magical effect of cultivating the Sea of Consciousness. Lu Xingchen said, "Repair the Sea of Consciousness." Upon hearing this, Fatso, Wolf King, King Crocodile, and Black Dragon Snake's eyes suddenly lit up. At the same time, Dong Zhongyang and the others in the castle were also full of desire. Especially Dongfang Wuhan and Murong Xiong. Their eyes were full of greed. How is it? Tempting, right? But it's not that easy to refine the Essence Soul Pill. First, the pill recipe. The pill recipe of the Essence Soul pill is probably only available in the capital of the entire Great Qin Empire. Second, this jade crystal flower is as rare as the death flower. As far as I know, it has never appeared in the spiritual state. Secondly, the other herbs. Although these herbs are not as precious as the jade crystal flower and the death flower, they are definitely very rare. Lu Xingchen said. Fatso, Wolf King, and the other beasts looked at each other. According to this, refining the Essence Soul pill was really not easy. However, Qin Feiyong lowered his head and seemed to be deep in thought. He felt like he had seen the jade crystal flower somewhere before. Let's not talk about this first. This death flower will definitely die if it touches it. How can I get it? Fatso lowered his head and stared at the death flower, almost drooling. Lu Xingchen shook his head and laughed. Don't show a covetous look. The death flower is a treasure to us, but to you it has no value at all. Why? Fatso frowned. Lu Xingchen said. Because you have fused with the fire of life. If the sea of consciousness is broken, the energy of the fire of life can repair it. Yes. Fat Lord is now immortal. How can you ordinary people compare to him? Fatso said with a look of realization, his face full of pride. At this moment, Qin Feiyong's eyes flashed. He raised his head and rolled his eyes at Fatso. To pick the death flower, you must first find the jade crystal flower. Yeah. If I didn't have the jade crystal flower to purify the poison, I'm afraid that I would end up like the owner of those bones. Lu Xingchen sighed. Although the treasure was right in front of him, it was harder than ascending to the heavens to get his hands on it. Qin Feiyong asked curiously, how did you find this place? This is all thanks to the fire beacon and the twin sisters. When I saw Wan Qiu and Feng Wuxie appear, I wondered why Feng Hua and the twin sisters didn't appear. Later, when I saw them appear, I wondered if they were bound by something. After thinking about it again and again, I've decided to look around. Who knows, I might find something shocking. As expected, I found the flower of death here. On the opposite mountain peak, I also discovered some footprints. I'm guessing they were left behind by Feng Hua and the others. Lu Xingchen said. Qin Feiyong's pupils contracted. He didn't expect that Lu Xingchen wouldn't even let go of these details. Now he was really terrifying. After pondering for a while, Qin Feiyong said, take us to see those footprints. Follow me. Lu Xingchen said. The group followed behind Lu Xingchen and arrived at the other side of the mountain after a long time. At the edge of the mountain peak, the soil was a little soft, and there were indeed many footprints left on it. Qin Feiyong glanced around and said, Fatso, go and take a closer look. Fatso nodded, walked to a few footprints, squatted on the ground and carefully observed them. After a while, he stood up, looked at Qin Feiyong and said, Boss, it should have been left behind by Feng Hua and the others, because there are 2 footprints, and they are much smaller than the others. If I'm not wrong, they belong to the twin sisters. Qin Feiyong nodded. In this case, Lu Xingchen didn't lie. In other words, Lu Xingchen had nothing to do with the mysterious man. But who on earth was the mysterious man? Could it be them? Suddenly, Qin Feiyong thought of 2 people. They were the brother and sister that Feng Wuxie had mentioned. The brother and sister could predict his location, so they must have extraordinary abilities. Fatso glanced at Qin Feiyong and frowned. Boss, what are you thinking about? Nothing. Qin Feiyong shook his head and put the matter of the mysterious man aside for the time being, because these questions couldn't be figured out. They could only find out in the future. He glanced at the death flower in the valley and whispered, go around and see if there are any other footprints. Lu Xingchen said, do you mean that Wan Qiu and the others may still be hiding nearby? If it were you, would you give up the death flower so easily? Qin Feiyong asked back. No. Lu Xingchen shook his head and said, but I have to give it up because I don't have the ability to get it. Qin Feiyong said, so, you've given up? What else can I do? I can't risk my life to pick it up. Lu Xingchen smiled bitterly. Fat Lord is not willing to give up just like that. Fatso looked at the death flower, his eyes full of reluctance. Although it was useless to him, there was still Qin Feiyong and the others, right? Of course. Now that they had a cluster of fire of life, they basically didn't need the Essence Soul elixir, but they could keep it for emergencies. At the very least, they could take it to the auction. If the Essence Soul elixir was taken to the auction, It would definitely be sold at an unprecedented price. Lu Xingchen shook his head and said with a smile, "You can only look at it if you don't want to, unless you have the jade crystal flower. Yes, some things can't be obtained just because you want them. We've already wasted a lot of time. We can't waste any more time here. Let's go and look. When Fire Beacon and the others aren't here, we'll leave immediately." Qin Feiyang said. Lu Xingchen said, "I'll add that we'll split into 3 groups. Crocodile King and I will be in one group, Fatso and the Black Dragon Snake Clan, and Brother Qin and Wolf King will be in the other group. Be careful." Qin Feiyang nodded. Immediately, Lu Xingchen turned around with Crocodile King and searched along the right side of the mountain peak. Black Dragon Snake and Fatso searched along the left side of the mountain peak. Wolf King lay on Qin Feiyang's body and looked at Lu Xingchen's back. He asked telepathically, "Little Qinzi, is there really no other way?" "Yes," Qin Feiyang said to himself. The Wolf King was bewildered. Qin Feiyang said telepathically, "Do you still remember the strange flower I got from the lake?" Wolf King nodded. "At that time, I felt that the strange flower was a little familiar, but I couldn't remember it. Later, because I was in seclusion to break through the War Master realm, I didn't think too much about it. It wasn't until just now when Lu Xingchen mentioned the jade crystal flower that I suddenly remembered that it was the jade crystal flower," Qin Feiyang said. "Really?" Wolf King was surprised. "Really?" Qin Feiyang replied. "Haha, so you deliberately sent Lu Xingchen and Crocodile King away to take the flower of death for yourself. You are indeed a cunning old fox." Wolf King laughed secretly and despised him. "What are you talking about? I plan to take the flower of death for myself, but I want to get rid of Wan Qiu and the others more. Because if we don't get rid of these people, they will bring us trouble sooner or later. There's another factor. Since the mysterious man is helping Wan Qiu and the others, does he also know about the flower of death? If he knows, will he find a way to take it? Although this is just my guess, it's worth suspecting," Qin Feiyang said to himself. Wolf King said telepathically, "You mean we should hide here and monitor?" "Yes. But before monitoring, I have to set up a trap first." Qin Feiyang's eyes flashed and he turned around and walked towards the foot of the mountain, pretending to look for Fenghua and the others. Soon, he entered a small forest and saw that there was no one around. With a wave of his hand, Dong Zhengyang appeared out of thin air. Dong Zhengyang was about to ask, but Qin Feiyang hurriedly gestured for him to keep quiet. Dong Zhengyang was stunned and understood. He said telepathically, "Why are you being so mysterious?" Qin Feiyang said secretly, "I need your cooperation." "How?" Dong Zhengyang asked. Qin Feiyang said, "Pretend to be me and take Lu Xingchen and Fatso out of here later." "What about you?" Dong Zhengyang frowned. Qin Feiyang said telepathically, "I'm going to stay here and wait for the mysterious man to show up." "Wait for the mysterious man?" Qin Feiyang, don't treat me as an idiot like Dongfang Wuhan and Murong Xiong. If I'm not wrong, you should have a way to pick the flower of death. Your biggest purpose is to take the flower of death for yourself. Finding the mysterious man is just secondary. It's not right for you to do this. Dong Zhengyang sneered secretly. Qin Feiyang and Wolf King looked at each other, and there was a trace of deep helplessness in their eyes. Dong Zhengyang was not so easy to fool. "I can cooperate with you, but you have to give me a soul elixir. This request is not too much, is it?" Dong Zhengyang telepathically said. It was a clear price. "Okay." Qin Feiyang nodded and agreed without hesitation. Because both the flower of death and the jade crystal flower had 3 leaves, he could refine 3 soul elixirs. In fact, he had the biggest share. Straightforward. Dong Zhengyang smiled secretly, took out a phantom elixir and threw it into his mouth. Soon he turned into Qin Feiyang. Then, he looked at Qin Feiyang and asked, "Where is Wolf King?" Qin Feiyang lowered his head and pondered for a while. Then he looked at Wolf King and said, "You leave with Dong Zhengyang, but if there is a battle here, you must come to support me immediately." Even the white-eyed wolf could not catch up with the mysterious man, which showed how strong the mysterious man was. Therefore, before they really met, he dared not to take it lightly. Wolf King nodded, jumped on Dong Zhengyang's shoulder, jumped a few times and said with a smile, "Dong Zhengyang, it's quite comfortable to stay on your shoulder. Why don't you be my human pet? I promise I'll take good care of you. Get lost. Dong Zhengyang's face darkened, and he wanted to slap him. Humph. I'm the reincarnation of the peerless wolf. It's your honor to be my human pet. Don't be so ungrateful. If you don't agree now, I won't care if you beg to be my human pet in the future. Wolf King snickered. Crack. Dong Zhengyang clenched his hands, making a cracking sound. He gritted his teeth and transmitted a voice. Don't worry, this kind of thing will never happen. No one can be sure about the future, so don't boast too early. Wolf King said meaningfully. Dong Zhengyang immediately looked at Qin Feiyang angrily. It's like this. Forgive it, forgive it. Qin Feiyang smiled apologetically, glared at Wolf King, and transmitted a voice. Lu Xingchen and Fatso will be back soon. Let's go up. Dong Zhengyang took a deep breath, walked out of the woods with Wolf King, and climbed up to the top of the mountain. When they arrived at the top of the mountain, Fatso and Lu Xingchen had already returned. Fatso immediately asked, Boss, did you find anything? No. Dong Zhengyang shook his head and said, What about you guys? Fatso said, Nothing either. Dong Zhengyang glanced at the flower of death and said, Then let's not waste time. Let's go. But as he spoke, his eyes flashed, and he turned and rushed into the depths. Fatso also looked at the flower of death and sighed. What a pity. No matter how important the flower of death is, it's not as important as life. There's nothing to feel pity about. Lu Xingchen patted Fatso's shoulder and chased after Dong Zhengyang. Fatso really couldn't bear to leave, but he had no choice but to follow. After they left, Qin Feiyang quietly slipped up to the top of the mountain and lay in a bush. He hid his aura and concealed his figure, carefully paying attention to the movements around him. Time passed breath by breath. This place was silent. About 300 breaths passed. Boom! An earth-shattering sound suddenly exploded between heaven and earth. Qin Feiyang instinctively became alert. But then, he found that the valley and the vicinity of the valley were still deathly silent. As for that loud sound, it came from a place several thousand meters away. He looked up, a trace of suspicion creeping up his face. Who was fighting over there? Suddenly, his expression changed and he suddenly stood up, his eyes full of worry, because he suddenly remembered that the direction of the loud sound was the direction Fatso and the others went. Moreover, judging from the time Fatso and the others left in the distance, it was most likely that Fatso and the others were in trouble. What should I do? Qin Feiyang struggled in his heart. In the end, he gritted his teeth and continued to lie in the bush, monitoring the situation in the valley. With Fatso and Wolf King's power, even if they encountered a crisis, they could deal with it. Taking a step back, even if they couldn't deal with it, it should be no problem to escape. Time passed quietly. Qin Feiyang gradually began to become anxious. Because there was nothing strange in the valley, and the mysterious person didn't appear, but the sound of battle could be heard incessantly. If Fatso and Wolf King teamed up, even a 4-star war ancestor would suffer a great loss, but they actually fought until now? Without a doubt, they must have encountered a troublesome enemy. I can't delay any longer. Qin Feiyang muttered, got up and was about to rush down the valley. But just as he stood up, he quivered again and quickly lay down, his gaze firmly locked on the opposite mountain peak. He saw a black figure suddenly appear on the opposite mountain peak. You're finally here? I'd like to see who you are. Qin Feiyang muttered as he stared fixedly at the black figure. In fact, the distance between the two mountain peaks wasn't far, but the blood mist in the air made it impossible to see the person's true face. The black figure was also very vigilant. He walked to the edge of the cliff and looked at the flower of death below, but he didn't immediately go down. Instead, he looked around. Seeing that there was no movement, the black figure jumped down and landed at the bottom of the valley. Qin Feiyang finally saw the person's appearance, but he was extremely disappointed. This person was wearing a pitch-black robe that wrapped his body tightly, looking very mysterious. Moreover, his face was also black, and he could only roughly judge that he was a man from his body shape. Qin Feiyang frowned, his eyes flickering. Suddenly, he took out the Chang Shui, which was like a beautiful jade carving with a charming luster. The black-robed man didn't notice Qin Feiyang. He stepped on the piles of bones and walked straight toward the flower of death. 15 meters, 10 meters, 5 meters. When he was 2 meters away from the flower of death, the black-robed man waved his hand, and a palm-sized strange flower appeared out of thin air. This flower had a total of 3 leaves, which were like crystals gushing out rays of light. Jade crystal flower. Qin Feiyang's eyes were shining. In his heart there was a trace of disbelief. He even had a jade crystal flower. Who was this person? At the same time, the black-robed man grabbed the jade crystal flower, then stepped in front of the flower of death and stretched out his arm to grab the flower of death. Whoosh! It was also at this time. Qin Feiyang, like the incarnation of a cheetah, suddenly jumped out of the bushes, and then, with the help of the gravity in the air, swooped down toward the black-robed man like lightning. Sir, I've been waiting for you for a long time. At the same time, he said coldly. The black-robed man was shocked and looked up. When he saw that it was Qin Feiyang, there was a trace of surprise in his eyes. This look, when Qin Feiyang's eyes met the black-robed man's, his eyes trembled. Swish! Under the pressure of gravity, he swooped down very fast, and in almost 2 breaths, he landed in front of the black-robed man. Then, he firmly grasped Chang Shui and stabbed toward the black-robed man's lower abdomen. Seeing Pale Snow's attack, a trace of fear crept into the black-robed man's eyes. He quickly bent his waist and arched his body. At the same time, he took a step back and narrowly dodged Pale Snow's attack. But when the black-robed man retreated, Qin Feiyang suddenly waved his arm upward, and Chang Shui's blade immediately slashed across the black-robed man's mask. In fact, the previous attack was just a pretense. Qin Feiyang's real purpose was the mask. Crack! The black mask was split into 2 on the spot, and streaks of blood flowed down from the black-robed man's face. Obviously, this cut left a wound on his face. But when the mask fell off, the black-robed man quickly turned around and fled this place without looking back. I already know who you are. Don't you think that you should kill me to silence me? Qin Feiyang did not chase after him. Looking at the black-robed man's back, he said lightly. Because even Wolf King could not catch up with him, let alone him. And he was not bluffing the black-robed man. Although he did not see the man's face clearly, he was too familiar with his eyes. The black-robed man stopped, but he did not look back or speak. What was he thinking about? Qin Feiyang sighed. To be honest, I'm very surprised. Why is it you? Haha. The black-robed man suddenly laughed and said, I'm also very surprised. You have already left with everyone. Why are you here? But this sentence was said through voice transmission. After that, Chapter 629. Blood dyed the black-robed man's face red, but Qin Feiyang could recognize him at a glance. It was Lu Xingchen. I don't understand. You're a 7 stars combat emperor, but why is your aura so strong? Even stronger than mine. Qin Feiyang furrowed his brows and secretly transmitted his voice. Lu Xingchen shook his head and said, There are some things that you'd better not know. Qin Feiyang said, Will it cause trouble? Who knows? Lu Xingchen smiled faintly, as if he wasn't worried that Qin Feiyang would discover his identity. Qin Feiyang said, Then why are you helping Kong Province and Yu Province? Putting aside the grudges between Wan Qiu's group and everyone else, let's just talk about the threat of these people. It could be said that Wan Qiu's group was one of the strongest competitors in this battle of the 9 states. Of course, it could also be said that these people were the obstacles to everyone entering the imperial capital. And Lu Xingchen couldn't have not thought of this. Logically speaking, he should have gotten rid of them at the first moment, but now he was saving them? Why was he doing this? It was absolutely impossible that Lu Xingchen didn't want to enter the imperial capital. Because if he didn't want to go, there was no need for him to participate in the Battle of the 9 States, so this matter was very strange. Lu Xingchen was silent for a moment, then took out a healing pill and threw it into his mouth. Then, he wiped the blood off his face and smiled secretly. I have my reasons for doing this, but I can't tell you the reason yet. Qin Feiyang frowned and said, Are you that fearless? Lu Xingchen gave him the feeling that he wouldn't do anything, let alone expose Lu Xingchen's actions. He couldn't understand where Lu Xingchen found his confidence. Lu Xingchen said, I'm not fearless, but we need each other. Qin Feiyang raised his eyebrows. What did he mean? Lu Xingchen transmitted his voice. Do you need me to tell you everything? Tell me about it. Needless to say, Qin Feiyang really wanted to know. He felt as if Lu Xingchen had something on him. But he didn't seem to have done anything shameful. Lu Xingchen said, Firstly, I am a 3-star war ancestor, and I also have a perfect slaughter and support battle art. Furthermore, I also have a spatial divine item, so you can't kill me. What? Qin Feiyang's eyes trembled, and his heart was in turmoil. Lu Xingchen pursed his lips into a smile and continued, Secondly, and most importantly, I know your true identity. You are the son of the emperor of the great Qin Empire. Boom! Upon hearing this, Qin Feiyang felt as if he had been struck by a bolt from the blue, his head rumbling. He had always been tight-lipped about his true identity. Except for Fatso Wolf King the Pangolin and Lu Hong, even Lin Yi Luoqianxue and Ren Wushuang, the people closest to him, didn't know. But how did Lu Xingchen know? Did someone leak the secret to him? But was that possible? One had to know that whether it was Fatso and Lu Hong, Wolf King and the Pangolin, they were all people he trusted the most and could trust. It was absolutely impossible for him to leak secrets. Lu Xingchen transmitted his voice with a smile. Are you surprised? To be honest, I have never understood why the son of the emperor would end up in a small town in our spiritual state. Qin Feiyang said in a deep voice, What else do you know? Lu Xingchen smiled. Except for your identity, I really don't know anything else. If you can solve the doubts in my heart, I am happy to listen. Qin Feiyang said, When did you know? Very early. Lu Xingchen smiled and said vaguely. Qin Feiyang fell silent and his eyes flickered. Don't think about silencing me. You don't have the ability now. Of course, with your talent, you may have it in the future, but you'd better be honest for now. Don't get me wrong. I am not threatening you. On the contrary, I will help you. Lu Xingchen said. Help me? Qin Feiyang frowned. Lu Xingchen said, Although I don't know why you left the capital, I can guess that there must be some reasons. Qin Feiyang's eyes flashed, and he said, Continue. On the day you return to the capital, I expect that an unprecedented storm will be set off in the capital because of your appearance. At that time, as long as you, Qin Feiyang, say the word, I, Lu Xingchen, will definitely help you with all my strength. Even if your opponent is the current ruler, or even the current emperor, I will not back down even half a step. Lu Xingchen said firmly and decisively. Qin Feiyang's heart was shocked again. Isn't this Lu Xingchen's courage too shocking? He pondered for a while. Qin Feiyang shook his head and said, I don't believe that pies will fall from the sky. Tell me your purpose. Lu Xingchen said with a smile, You will know my purpose in the future, but this is only secondary. I am helping you mainly because I want to repay you. Repay me? Qin Feiyang frowned. What's going on? Because I owe you a favor, and what I hate the most is to owe others a favor, especially you, Qin Feiyang. Lu Xingchen smiled faintly. Qin Feiyang was confused, really confused. He couldn't keep calm even if he wanted to, because from the beginning to the end, he and Lu Xingchen only had enmity and resentment between them. Where did the favor come from? There are some things that you may be confused about now, but when the time comes you will know everything. Now tell me, what is your choice? Lu Xingchen said. I can't panic. Qin Feiyang closed his eyes and tried to calm himself down, because he was in a very passive situation. Only when he calmed down and thought about it could he find an opportunity to turn the situation around and seize the initiative. Most importantly, he couldn't tell which of Lu Xingchen's words were true and which were false. Lu Xingchen looked at Qin Feiyang. His eyes flashed slightly, and he said telepathically, You may think that I am threatening you now, but it is actually the opposite. I don't mean that at all. After that, he added, To be honest, even if you don't keep it a secret for me, I will not reveal your identity. Qin Feiyang opened his eyes, which were shining, and said, My identity will be exposed sooner or later. Even if you reveal it now, it will not be a threat to me. He was taking a gamble. He had secrets, and so did Lu Xingchen. Now it was a matter of who cared more about these secrets. Lu Xingchen frowned and asked, Then what will it take for you to choose to reconcile? Qin Feiyang smiled. Lu Xingchen's question was enough to show that Lu Xingchen cared more about his own secrets, and the initiative was back in Qin Feiyang's hands. Sometimes turning the situation around was that simple as long as you could find the key point. I will keep my mouth shut about this matter. You don't need to tell me too much. I just want to know one thing. What is your relationship with Xiang Xiaolong? Qin Feiyang asked telepathically. Xiang Xiaolong? Lu Xingqian was taken aback. He thought that Qin Feiyang would ask some sharp questions, but he didn't expect that he would ask such an insignificant person like Xiang Xiaolong. This person's thoughts were indeed hard to guess. Qin Feiyang asked, "Do you know what happened to Zhao He back then?" Lu Xingqian said, "Of course I know. He is that mysterious battle master. In order to track him down you spent a lot of effort, and he also slaughtered countless people in the Dong family. At that time the news was spread like wildfire. It was hard not to know." That's right. At that time, in order to find out his identity, we really racked our brains. But I remember that one time, in order to lure him out, I set up a trap and waited outside the prison with Yan Nanshan. But at that time, Xiang Xiaolong and his men quarreled with Xiao Jian in the Divine Temple, and Yan Nanshan was sent away. Later I asked around. Someone told me that this dispute was because Xiang Xiaolong was jealous of Xiao Jian for Dong Fangyu. Because of this, I went to meet Xiang Xiaolong. In the end, under my coercion, he told me that a woman arranged for him to do this. Later, Zhao He gave himself away and I caught him in the act. I thought the matter was over and didn't pay attention to it anymore. After all, it didn't matter whether I killed such a small character or not. But when I returned from Yunzhou that night, I suddenly found that things were far from as simple as I thought. Qin Feiyang telepathically said. Lu Xingqian's eyes flashed. He thought to himself, what happened that night? Qin Feiyang said, I found that Xiang Xiaolong met with someone at the top of a mountain, and the person they were talking about was me. And the person who met with Xiang Xiaolong was you. How do you explain that? Lu Xingqian's pupils shrank. He sighed and said, I didn't expect that I would still be caught red-handed by you even though I was so cautious. Are you now suspecting that Zhao He and I are in cahoots? Qin Feiyang said, I don't deny it. Lu Xingqian telepathically said, I can tell you very responsibly that the matter with Xiang Xiaolong had nothing to do with me, Lu Xingqian, because I was already dead at that time. Qin Feiyang raised his eyebrows imperceptibly. Indeed, the matter with Xiang Xiaolong happened after Lu Xingqian's death, but for some reason he felt that it had something to do with Lu Xingqian. Actually, my relationship with Xiang Xiaolong is very simple. He is just a chess piece that can do things for me. As for when I asked him to inquire about your situation, I admit that I had selfish motives. Because I know your identity, I have to know your whereabouts at all times. If you were unfortunately killed, wouldn't I have no one to repay my debt to? Lu Xingqian smiled telepathically. So you are still protecting me? Qin Feiyang looked at him playfully. What else? Brother Qin, not everything is so complicated. Sometimes you have to think in a simpler way. Why do you have to rack your brains over some unimportant people or things? Lu Xingqian smiled. Qin Feiyang said, you have a hidden meaning in your words. You have to believe me. There really isn't. How about this? As a show of my sincerity, I will give you this jade crystal flower and the flower of death for free. Lu Xingqian was very straightforward. He directly handed the jade crystal flower to Qin Feiyang without any reluctance. I will accept the flower of death, but I don't want the jade crystal flower. Qin Feiyang said lightly, because as long as he accepted the jade crystal flower, he and Lu Xingqian would be bound together. If Lu Xingqian was an upright person it wouldn't matter. But the key was that this person had a lot of secrets. He couldn't get too close to him. Lu Xingqian was a little stunned. Obviously, he didn't expect Qin Feiyang to refuse the jade crystal flower. One had to know that this was a rare treasure. Others couldn't have it even if they wanted it. After coming back to his senses, he smiled telepathically and said, without this jade crystal flower, how can you get the flower of death? Don't be polite with me. Take it. In this world, you are not the only one who has the jade crystal flower. Qin Feiyang patted his Qiankuan bag, and a sparkling and translucent jade crystal flower instantly appeared. Lu Xingqian was surprised. He then shook his head and said, Brother Qin, you are very shrewd. Aren't you the same? You both want to take it for yourself. Why do you have to say such sarcastic words? Qin Feiyang didn't hide his sneer. Then he grabbed the jade crystal flower and the flower of death. He carefully pulled them out. When he grabbed the flower of death, an invisible energy surged into his palm and quickly spread to his limbs. This energy was the poison of the flower of death. However, at the same time, the jade crystal flower also surged with energy. It entered Qin Feiyang's body and removed the poison from the sea of death. Next, Qin Feiyang found a jade box and put the flower of death and the jade crystal flower into it. He sealed it and put it in his Qingkuan bag. Boom! The sounds of battle in the distance had not dissipated. Qin Feiyang frowned and asked, "Who ambushed you?" "Ambush?" Lu Xingchen was taken aback, and a puzzled expression appeared on his face. Qin Feiyang frowned and said, "No? If that's the case, what's with the sounds of battle over there?" "Oh, you mean that?" Lu Xingchen suddenly understood and said with a smile, "We weren't ambushed. Wan Qiu and the others encountered a strong opponent." "What's the situation?" Qin Feiyang was puzzled. "I'm not too sure about the details. At that time, I only saw a very average-looking woman stop Wan Qiu and the others. She seemed to be from Fengzhou. Fatso and the others should still be there watching the show," Lu Xingchen said. Qin Feiyang said, "Did you run back at that time when Fatso and the others were not paying attention?" Lu Xingchen shook his head and said with a smile, "Nothing can escape your eyes." Qin Feiyang glanced at him indifferently and said, "Let's go and see how strong that woman is. She even dared to stop Wan Qiu and the others. Her strength must be extraordinary, but we'd better not go together. Although we've spoken through voice transmissions, and only the two of us know what we're talking about, you did not say those words through voice transmission," Lu Xingchen said. Qin Feiyang nodded. The original sentence was, "I already know who you are. Don't you think you should kill me to silence me?" Dongfang Wuhan and the others who were staying in the castle must have also heard this sentence. Now they were probably wondering who this mysterious person was. Therefore, if he and Lu Xingchen went together, when Dong Zhongyang and Fatso saw them, they would definitely ask why he was with Lu Xingchen. At that time, the people in the castle would naturally suspect Lu Xingchen. Since they had temporarily reconciled, of course, they should avoid as much trouble as possible. "Well, you go first. If Dong Zhongyang and the others want to ask, you can just find an excuse. I believe this won't be difficult for you," Qin Feiyang said. "Thank you." Lu Xingchen cupped his hands and thanked him, then turned and quickly left. 3-star battle grandmaster. Perfect battle art. Spatial divine item. How many secrets is this person hiding? Looking at Lu Xingchen's back, Qin Feiyang muttered to himself, his brows tightly knitted. Before this, he only felt that Lu Xingchen was a little mysterious and did not pose much of a threat, but now he realized that the threat Lu Xingchen posed to him was far greater than the mystery. Sooner or later, I will dig out all your secrets and reveal your true colors. Chapter 630. Dozens of breaths later. Qin Feiyang came to a giant mountain. The mountain was about 5,000 to 6,000 feet tall, and was the tallest mountain within a few miles. He flew to the top of the mountain and stood at the edge, overlooking the front. There was a vast plain in front of him. There were no trees on the plain, but there were weeds everywhere. Boom! Crack! The deafening sound of battle was heard continuously, like thunder. The sound came from the center of the plain. There was a fierce battle going on there at the moment. It was a man and a woman fighting, but because they were too far away, their faces could not be seen clearly. However, that man had a head of long red hair. He should be Wan Qiu. A few hundred meters away from the battlefield, there were 4 figures standing side by side, watching the battle at the moment. The 4 of them were Feng Hua, Feng Wuxie, and the twin sisters. Qin Feiyang looked for a while and then looked away. Because it was too blurry, he could not see anything at all. It was better to find Fatso and the others first. Soon, he found Fatso and the others on a small hill not far away. Whoosh! Qin Feiyang leaped onto the roof and vaulted over the wall. Soon he arrived at the foot of the mountain. In another dozen breaths, he arrived at where Fatso and the others were. "Who is it?" Fatso immediately sensed someone approaching and turned his head. But when he saw Qin Feiyang, his expression suddenly froze. Why are there 2 bosses? Dong Zhengyang and Wolf King knew in their hearts and were not surprised at all. However, The black dragon snake and king crocodile were also looking at the two Qin Feiyong in surprise like Fatso. Dong Zhengyang was about to explain, but Qin Feiyong waved his hand and looked at Fatso. You have been with me for 5 to 6 years, so you should know me well. Now, who is the real Qin Feiyong? Fatso stared blankly at Qin Feiyong and Dong Zhengyang from head to toe. The two of them had the same face, the same height, and the same clothes on their bodies. For a moment he really couldn't guess who was the real one. No, a person's appearance could be changed, but it was not so easy to hide one's eyes in nature. Thinking of this, Fatso observed carefully, especially the look in the eyes of Qin Feiyong and Dong Zhengyang. A moment later, he pointed at Dong Zhengyang and said, "You're a fake." Dong Zhengyang's expression stiffened. Frowning, he asked, "How do you know?" Because boss's eyes carry the vicissitudes of life as if he has seen through everything in the world. But in your eyes, Fat Lord doesn't notice this. If Fat Lord is right, you should be Dong Zhengyang. Fatso chuckled. Dong Zhengyang was stunned. Not only could he tell that he was a fake, but he could also directly determine his identity. How did Fatso do it? Could it be that he had a pair of fiery eyes? Dong Zhengyang asked curiously, "How did you know that I'm Dong Zhengyang?" Fatso said with a sinister smile, "It's your eyes. To be honest, your eyes are very special. There's a trace of darkness in your indifference. This means that your heart is not pure, right?" Your heart is not pure. Dong Zhengyang's face twitched. Although he was not a good person, he was at least a reasonable person who knew right from wrong. Was it as bad as Fatso said? Rolling his eyes at Fatso, Dong Zhengyang took a facial restoration pill and quickly restored his true appearance. "It's really you. Fatso was just joking just now. Don't take it seriously. Actually, your heart is not impure. It's just a little, yes, dirty, that's all." Fatso laughed sinisterly. "Get lost." Dong Zhengyang's veins were bulging. It seemed dirty, but it was more unbearable than impure. The most outrageous thing was that he said that was all? Wasn't this an insult to his character? I was joking. Fat Lord swears in the name of boss that he has no ill intentions. Brother Dong, please don't be angry. Fatso said with an apologetic smile. In my name? Qin Feiyong's face darkened. Dong Zhengyang was even more furious. When did he become a brother? Top quality. The two shook their heads. The helplessness in their hearts could only turn into silent sighs. Qin Feiyong collected his thoughts and walked to Fatso's side. He looked at the battlefield in the center of the plain and asked, "How's the battle going?" Dong Zhengyang said in a deep voice, "That woman is very powerful. Even Wan Qiu was suppressed by her." What? Qin Feiyong's eyes trembled. Standing at this position, he could clearly see the woman's true appearance. This woman was a round one, 75 meters tall and wore a white dress. Her figure was very good, and she was curvy where she should be. But her appearance was very ordinary. She was the kind of woman who wouldn't even look at her if she passed by. However, her temperament was outstanding. Her skin was also very soft. On the clothes on her chest, there was indeed the word Feng embroidered. And after Qin Feiyong's observation, Wan Qiu was indeed being suppressed by this woman. Suddenly, Qin Feiyong frowned and shook his head. Something's wrong. What's wrong? Fatso and the others were bewildered. Qin Feiyong asked, "That woman's cultivation, is she a 3-star war master?" "That's right." Fatso nodded. "She is a 3-star war master, and Wan Qiu is also a 3-star war master. Furthermore, Wan Qiu has grasped a perfect support-type battle art. How could she be a match for Wan Qiu?" Qin Feiyong said. Fatso and Dong Zhengyang looked at each other. That's right. What was going on? It didn't make sense. Qin Feiyong pondered for a moment and said, "Where did Wan Qiu suffer a loss just now?" Battle art. In the beginning they were evenly matched, but when they used their battle arts, Wan Qiu gradually fell into a disadvantage. According to my observation, if he didn't have a perfect support-type battle art, Wan Qiu would have already lost the ability to resist, Wolf King said with a trace of seriousness in his eyes. Battle art. Qin Feiyong lowered his head and fell into deep thought. Is this the strength of the number one person in Yuzhou? But suddenly, a crisp and pleasant voice rang out. Qin Feiyong looked up and saw that the woman had stopped and was looking at Wan Qiu with a trace of mockery in her black gem-like eyes. Moreover, after such a long battle, there wasn't even a speck of dust on her body. Her white dress was as white as snow. But Wan Qiu, on the other hand, was in a very sorry state. Not only were his clothes tattered, but his body was also covered in wounds and blood. Hearing the woman's words, Wan Qiu's eyebrows furrowed and he said in a low voice, "If I remember correctly, this is the first time I've met you. But why did you call me by name?" "Call me by name?" Qin Feiyong was stunned and looked at Wolf King and Fatso in confusion. Wolf King said, "When this woman stopped Wan Qiu, she did call Wan Qiu by name, but she never said the reason. That was strange. Wan Qiu was with Feng Hua and the others. Why didn't she call Feng Hua and the others but only Wan Qiu?" Qin Feiyong looked up at the woman again, waiting for her answer. At the same time, Feng Hua and the others who were standing at the edge of the battlefield also wanted to know the reason. But the woman didn't answer and just looked at Wan Qiu. But for some reason, there was a trace of anger in her eyes. "I don't like you." After a long time, the woman finally said the reason, but this reason made everyone's jaws drop. She attacked Wan Qiu because she didn't like him. Wasn't this woman too unique? Qin Feiyong couldn't help laughing. This woman was a bit interesting. However, Wan Qiu was burning with anger. He thought that this woman might have some hatred for him, but he didn't expect that it was because of such a ridiculous reason. She had gone too far. Most importantly, the number one person in Yuzhou was defeated by a woman, which made him feel ashamed. Boom! Wan Qiu's body shook, and a monstrous aura burst out. Then, he raised his arm and pointed his index finger in the air. His eyes burst with a shocking light, and he shouted, "Blood Soul Palm." Suddenly, a blood-red light spurted out from his fingertips, and a huge bloody palm appeared out of thin air in an instant. "It's coming. This is Wan Qiu's strongest battle skill. That little girl definitely knows how to use a battle art. Quickly watch carefully," Wolf King reminded Qin Feiyong. Qin Feiyong glanced at the blood soul palm, then his eyes firmly locked on the woman, looking forward to it. "Still not giving up?" The woman frowned, looking a little impatient. "Who do you think you are? You think you can make me give up with your little ability? I'm telling you, today either you die or I die." Wan Qiu smiled coldly. The bloody giant hand above suddenly broke through the air, exuding an unparalleled murderous aura. Even the void here was dyed blood red. Ignorant. Seeing this, the woman shook her head and gently waved her hand. Rays of sword chi surged out and hovered around her. Her long hair and clothes fluttered in the wind. At this time she was like a sharp blade exuding a shocking sharpness. Condense. With a low shout, the sword chi around her surged into the sky and condensed into a 3-foot-long sword, shining with a dazzling light. That terrifying sharpness could topple mountains and overturn seas, tearing the earth apart. Sacred Sword Judgment. The woman looked straight at Wan Qiu, her eyes shining with a terrifying light. She pressed her finger down, and the 3-foot-long thin sword cut through the sky, carrying thousands of rays of sword chi, and slashed at the bloody giant hand. Boom! The two collided. In the end, under Qin Feiyong's astonished gaze, the battle sword effortlessly cut the blood-colored giant hand into 2 halves, and then it quickly dissipated. "This is..." Qin Feiyong's eyes trembled, and his face was full of disbelief. "What is this?" Wolf King, Fatso, Dongzhongyang, Black Dragon Snake, and King Crocodile looked at him in surprise. "A perfect battle technique," Qin Feiyong said word by word. "What?" Fatso and the others were shocked. What was going on? Were perfect battle techniques really rampant? Qin Feiyong looked at the woman in disbelief. Before entering the netherworld, he thought that only he, Fatso, Wolf King, and Lu Hong had perfect battle techniques in the 9 prefectures. He never expected that not only Wan Qiu of Yuzhou, but also the people of Fengzhou had perfect battle techniques. It seemed that winning the battle of the 9 prefectures was more difficult than he thought. Qin Feiyong turned his gaze and looked at Wan Qiu. Wan Qiu was half kneeling on the ground, clutching his chest with both hands. Blood kept coming out of his mouth, and his hair was disheveled. Obviously, the previous collision had caused fatal injuries to him. However, Chapter 631. Wolf King laughed sinisterly. "Wan Qiu has already gone crazy. I'm afraid he's going to activate his battle soul. Qin Feiyang said. When he activates his battle soul, you can find a chance to take it away from him. Do I need you to tell me that? Wolf King rolled his eyes at him. In this 9 provinces Great War, Wan Qiu could be considered a peak expert with his strength. If his battle soul was taken away, then even if he was a 3-star war master and had a perfect support-type battle art, he would not be a threat. Boom! Wan Qiu waved his hand and a bloody light flowed up like a tide, condensing into a sea of blood above his head, emitting a monstrous baleful aura. What kind of battle soul is this? Wolf King was bewildered. Other than the sea of blood, he did not see anything else. Could it be that Wan Qiu's battle soul was this sea of blood? Fatso said, "This is not a battle soul, it's his battle art." Roar! As soon as he finished, a beast-like roar sounded from the sea of blood. Following closely, a huge creature roared out from the sea of blood. It was a huge beast. Its entire body seemed to be made of rocks, and it was dozens of feet tall. It was like a towering mountain, lying horizontally in the sky. Its entire body was filled with a ruthless and bloody aura. Fatso explained, "This battle art is called the Hellstone Beast. When we went ashore, Fat Lord used this battle art when he fought with him. Its lethality is not bad." Roar! The Hellstone Beast roared and swooped down towards the woman. However, the woman's expression was still calm, as if she did not care at all. The Hellstone Beast arrived in an instant, its baleful aura overflowing. Clang! It was also at this moment. The woman suddenly attacked. With a wave of her jade-like hand, sword chi surged and a thin sword instantly condensed. Soul-shattering sword. Next, the woman grabbed the sword hilt and slashed at the air. With a wail, the Hellstone Beast was cut in half. Damn! Fatso's pupils constricted. This is also a perfect battle art. Qin Feiyang's eyes trembled. This woman actually possessed 2 perfect slaughter battle arts. It was too inconceivable, too inconceivable. Wolf King said, "Wan Qiu will only have a chance of winning if he activates his battle soul. Maybe even if he activates his battle soul, he still won't be a match for that little girl." The strength that the woman had displayed was something that even it was wary of. True enough. Wan Qiu had activated his battle soul. Voila! Waves of bloody light surged out from Wan Qiu's back and gathered in the air, forming a surging sea of blood. Hell Demon God! Following his furious roar, the sea of blood swiftly gathered and formed 100 zhang tall crimson figure. The blood shadow was in the shape of a human, but it did not have a face. Its body was only an outline, but it was like a true demon that had broken through the world, emitting a monstrous demonic aura. Qin Feiyang frowned as he looked at the Wolf King and said, "His fighting soul seems to be somewhat similar to yours. Are you blind? Other than the fact that it doesn't have a face, what do you think is similar?" The Wolf King rolled his eyes and continued, "But this kind of fighting soul is usually very heaven-defying." "What do you mean?" Qin Feiyang and the others looked at it suspiciously. "I've studied it for a long time and finally came to a conclusion. The reason why my battle soul can't manifest its true body is because I'm not strong enough. I think Wan Qiu's battle soul is the same," Wolf King said. Qin Feiyang and the others narrowed their eyes. Clang! There was a deafening explosion. Soon after, Qin Feiyang and the others sensed an earth-shattering sharpness surging toward them with earth-shattering momentum. They looked up and saw a flash of sword light rushing out from behind the woman. In the flash of sword light, there was a pocket-sized sword the size of a thumb. It was crystal clear, as if it was carved out of crystal. Is this her battle soul? Qin Feiyang and the others were stunned. No matter how they looked at it, this pocket-sized sword could not be compared to Wan Qiu's battle soul. Boom! However, to their surprise, when the 2 battle souls collided, Wan Qiu's battle soul was directly suppressed by the pocket-sized sword. Dong Zhengyang sighed. "This woman is powerful." Wolf King said, "Little Qin Zi, she will definitely become a strong opponent. Should we kill them together?" Before Qin Feiyang could speak, Fatso said, "Nonsense, of course we have to kill them. Brother Wolf, take away their battle souls." Anyone who entered the 9th level of the underworld had only one purpose: to enter the imperial capital. In order to enter the imperial capital, whether it was people from the other major states or their fellow disciples, they were all enemies. Wait a little longer. Qin Feiyang transmitted his voice. Now was not the best time to make a move. In the sky above the plain, due to the fierce collision of the two battle souls, a terrifying destructive force was born. The ground trembled, cracked, and collapsed. After a few breaths, Wan Qiu's battle soul was finally defeated and showed signs of collapsing. This was absolutely not allowed, because once the battle soul disintegrated, it would definitely cause fatal damage to Wan Qiu. Innate divine power, demon god's hand. His face was ferocious as he roared into the sky. The demon god of hell standing in the sky suddenly stretched out his giant hand and slapped at the pocket-sized sword. Demonic power surged and shook all directions. At the same time, the giant hand released an invisible force that surged toward the woman. The moment the invisible force enveloped the woman, her expression changed. Qin Feiyang was surprised. One had to know that from the beginning to the end, this woman had been calm and collected, but now her face had changed. What had happened? Fatso said in a deep voice. The battle qi in her body has been sealed. Qin Feiyang was stunned and frowned. What do you mean? Wan Qiu's battle soul's innate divine power has a terrifying power. Anyone who is hit by it will have their battle qi and sea of qi sealed and unable to use it. When Fat Lord fought with him, he did not know beforehand and almost suffered a huge loss. Fatso said, What? Isn't this similar to the effect of the divine gravity metal? Dong Zhengyang exclaimed. Fatso nodded. Qin Feiyang asked, Then how can we break his innate divine power? If she could not use battle qi, she could not perform battle arts. In other words, even if the woman had perfect battle arts, she could not use them now. There's only one way. Destroy his battle soul. Although his innate divine power is terrifying, it has a flaw. It can only seal battle qi, not battle soul. However, you have to have a stronger battle soul than him. Otherwise, all your methods will be in vain. Fatso said. Wolf King said, If that's the case, that little girl's battle soul should be able to do it. Who knows? Fatso shrugged. He had personally experienced Wan Qiu's strength, and it was not something ordinary people could compare to. As for that woman, he had not fought her personally, so he could not say for sure. In the blink of an eye, the giant hand of the demon god of hell had already landed above the woman's head. The terrifying demonic power caused the ground here to sink continuously. The woman raised her head and looked at the falling giant hand, her pupils constricting. But suddenly, she retracted her gaze and looked at Wan Qiu, saying, You're not bad. No wonder you dare to attack the people of the spiritual state repeatedly. Wan Qiu grinned sinisterly. Since you mentioned the spiritual state, let me tell you. Soon your Feng state will be the next spiritual state. Is that so? But why do I see that your Yu state and Kong state are fleeing from Qin Feiyang of the spiritual state? The woman smiled mockingly. At the mention of Qin Feiyang's name, Wan Qiu's eyes burst with intense hatred. Feng Hua, Feng Wuxie, and the twin sisters were also furious. Dong Zhengyang smiled. It seems that they are very dissatisfied with you. Yes. Why am I always the one who gets hurt? Qin Feiyang sighed helplessly. Suddenly, he thought of someone. Lu Xingchen. Lu Xingchen left before him, but why wasn't he here yet? Was he plotting something in secret? Just as he was deep in thought, the woman on the battlefield made her move. She waved her hand and shouted, Innate divine power, sword realm. Although the battle aura in her body was sealed, her body was not. Clang! As soon as she said that, the pocket-sized sword in the sky suddenly trembled and emitted a dazzling light. Immediately after, wisps of sword energy appeared and shot out in all directions. In just an instant, a sword chi barrier that was hundreds of meters wide appeared out of nowhere, trapping Wan Qiu and the hell demon god inside. Is there a point to this? Wan Qiu sneered. You'll know soon enough whether it's meaningful or not. The woman glanced at him indifferently and looked into the void. Her eyes gradually turned sharp. Clang! Suddenly, it turned out that countless battle swords had appeared in the empty void. Each of the swords was 3 feet long and 3 fingers wide. They seemed to be made of cold iron and exuded a sharp aura that could destroy the world. Whoosh! Immediately after, the sea of battle swords turned into streams of light and met the gigantic hand of the demon of hell. Boom! The two collided like comets and shook the world. In terms of power, the battle swords could not compare to the gigantic hand. However, there were many battle swords and they were endless. In less than 5 breaths. With a loud bang, the gigantic hand disintegrated. Immediately after, the densely packed battle swords swarmed towards Wancho's war soul, the demon of hell. Boom! The demon of hell disintegrated in less than 5 breaths. Wancho's body trembled and he spat out a mouthful of blood. His eyes were filled with disbelief. What he found most unacceptable was that not a single battle sword in the sword realm was missing. The power of each of these battle swords is comparable to a perfect grade battle art. Even if they shatter, they will reappear with a thought from me. You can understand it this way. As long as the sword realm is not broken and the sword soul is not destroyed, the battle swords will be endless. This is my innate ability, the sword realm. How does it feel? The woman stood proudly on the ground and looked at Wancho indifferently. That contemptuous gaze and cold and arrogant attitude caused Wancho to be infuriated to the extreme, and he roared, "Then I'll blast apart the sword domain, shatter the sword soul, and make you die a graveless death." Boom! He was completely mad. 2 streams of battle chi poured out of his body like torrents. One stream of battle chi blasted towards the barrier of the sword realm. The other stream of battle chi blasted towards the small sword floating in the middle of the sword realm. Give up. In here, all attacks are futile, unless you have absolute strength. The woman shook her head. The battle swords floating in the air moved together and lunged towards the 2 streams of battle chi. In the end, before the 2 streams of battle chi could get close to the small sword and the barrier of the sword realm, they were completely destroyed. Damn! Isn't this little girl a little too fierce? Seeing this scene, Wolf King's eyes almost popped out. Qin Feiyong and the others were also dumbfounded. They had always thought that the Serene Prefecture and Kong Prefecture were their biggest threat. Chapter 632. The woman's strength not only shocked Qin Feiyong and the others, but also shocked Feng Wuxie and the other 3 from the Kong state. After being with Wancho for so long, they knew Wancho's strength better than anyone else. Although he wasn't an invincible king, he was one of the top masters in the 9 states tournament. But in front of this woman he couldn't resist at all. She was ridiculously strong. Seeing that Wancho was in danger, Feng Hu's heart sank and said, "Don't just stand there, go save him." "Save him?" Feng Wuxie froze and shook his head. "Go if you want, I don't want to get burned." What a joke. Even Wancho, who had a perfect auxiliary battle art, was no match for this woman, let alone him, a 2-star combat grandmaster. Going there would be humiliating himself. Feng Hu frowned and said, "Don't forget, we have an alliance." Feng Wuxie said, "An alliance depends on the cost." The meaning was obvious. Wancho was the only one left in the Yuzhou state, and Wancho couldn't even protect himself, so he didn't have the capital to form an alliance with the Kong state. Feng Hu glanced at Feng Wuxie and then looked up at the crazy Wancho and said in a low voice, "I still think we should save him." "Why?" Feng Wuxie raised his eyebrows. "Our opponents are very strong now. Let's not talk about this woman, just the people of the spiritual state, Qin Feiyong, Fatso, and that rogue wolf are not people we can deal with. Although Wancho is no match for this woman, he is still a 3-star combat grandmaster and has a perfect battle art. Continuing to form an alliance with him will only benefit us." Feng Hu said in a low voice. "Makes sense." Hearing this, the 2 sisters nodded in agreement, but their hearts were filled with emotions. Back then, when they first met the people of the spiritual state, they were nothing in their eyes. But in just a short time, the overall strength of the spiritual state had increased. Now, it was no longer them who chased after the people of the spiritual state, but the people of the spiritual state who chased after them. It could even be said that they could only run away when they saw the people of the spiritual state. Feng Wuxie pondered for a moment and said, "Since you insist on making a move, then make it quick. Don't dawdle." He couldn't touch Tiger's butt. At this moment this woman was like a tigress. After saving Wancho, she had to leave immediately. The 3 fire beacon elders nodded. In the blink of an eye, within the sword domain, Wancho bombarded the sword domain barrier like a madman. The woman's expression did not change. She looked at him quietly with a hint of mockery in her eyes. "Don't waste your energy. With your current state, it's impossible for you to shatter the sword domain. It's getting late. It's time to send you away from this world. The woman raised her head to look at the sky, and a trace of killing intent suddenly appeared in her dark eyes. The densely packed battle swords in the void suddenly turned into a dazzling sword light that surged toward Wan Qiu. The terrifying sword light was earth-shattering and instantly drowned Wan Qiu, causing him to feel cold all over. Why? Why? Wan Qiu roared. He would never believe that this woman was targeting him just because she didn't like him. There must be other reasons. Why? The woman muttered to herself. After a moment of silence, she suddenly sent a voice transmission. You can only blame yourself for being blind and provoking a man you can't afford to provoke. Who? Wan Qiu roared. Someone you know very well. The woman abruptly turned her head to the side and saw Feng Wuxia and the other three rushing over. There are so many people who want to die. However, even if you don't come, I won't let you go after I kill this person. The woman whispered. Although it was a whisper, it was clearly heard by Wan Qiu, causing his mind to be greatly shaken. It turned out that this woman's target was not only him, but also Feng Wuxia and the other three. You're really arrogant. Wan Qiu stared at the woman and said in a bone-chilling tone. Arrogant? Why don't I think so? Maybe our views are different. In my eyes, the people I'm killing now are just unimportant people. The woman said indifferently, full of contempt. I'm unimportant? Wan Qiu's eyes turned red when he heard this. Accompanied by a loud bang, a monstrous blood-red light roared out from his body. The battle soul reappeared. Demon God's hand kill. With a roar, the demon god of hell immediately stretched out its giant hand and slapped at the sword light with shocking demonic power. An invisible force spread out and imprisoned the woman's battle chi. Actually, he had already calmed down. After all, how could the strongest person in Yuzhou be so weak? He was purely stalling for time. Because the woman already had the intention to kill, if he did not think of a way to stall for time, he would probably die in the woman's hands before Feng Wuxia and the other three arrived. Boom! The giant hand slammed down fiercely, shattering the swords one by one, but the giant hand was also collapsing. Hurry up! At the same time, Fire Beacon secretly sent a voice transmission to Feng Wuxia and the twin sisters. A few hundred meters was nothing to the battle sect. Before the demon god of hell's giant hand collapsed, they rushed over and stood a dozen meters away from the sword domain. Boom! Without hesitation, the four of them activated their battle souls. Feng Wuxia's battle soul, Fire Phoenix. Fire Beacon's battle soul, Golden God of War. The twin sisters' battle souls were both ice phoenixes. They were dozens of feet tall and seemed to be cast from ice. Their ferocity was unparalleled. When the four battle souls appeared, the demon god of hell's giant hand completely collapsed. Wan Qiu spat out blood and his internal organs were injured. This moment he was extremely weak. Fire Beacon roared, Wan Qiu, hold on for a while longer. Let's attack from the inside and crush the sword domain. Don't worry, I'm tough. No one can kill me. Wan Qiu laughed sinisterly. Roar! The demon god of hell standing above him suddenly turned around and punched the barrier. Break! Feng Wuxia and the other three roared. The four battle souls moved together with a monstrous might and attacked the sword domain. This is a good opportunity. At the same time, Fatso's eyes lit up and he said excitedly, Brother Wolf, this is a godsend opportunity. Hurry up and attack. As long as they took away their battle souls, they would not be a match for them even if they had heaven-defying abilities. Wolf King was also very tempted. He looked at Qin Feiyang and asked for Qin Feiyang's opinion. Qin Feiyang's eyes flashed and he said without hesitation, attack. The opportunity was fleeting and he could not hesitate. Moreover, this was the opportunity he had been waiting for. Wolf King laughed sinisterly. A bright golden light appeared behind him and surged into the sky like a waterfall. In the blink of an eye, the golden beast shadow appeared. The peerlessly terrifying ferocious might was like the raging waves of a vast ocean, surging out in all directions. What's going on? At that moment, the woman Wan Qiu and Feng Wuxia all looked over in surprise. Seeing the golden beast shadow, Feng Wuxia's expression changed and he roared, Oh no, it's the battle soul of Ruffian Wolf. Ruffian Wolf? Does that mean Qin Feiyang is here too? They hurriedly looked down at the golden beast shadow. When Qin Feiyang and the others entered their line of sight, a sense of despair rose in their hearts. The woman from Fengzhou was already very difficult to deal with. Now that Qin Feiyang and the others were here, was there any chance of survival? Qin Feiyang smiled and said, "We meet again so soon, we are truly fated. To hell with this fate." Their faces darkened and they could not help but curse in their hearts. Suddenly, Feng Wuxie seemed to have thought of something and shouted, "Quickly withdraw your battle souls. Deprive." But it was too late. With Wolf King's low roar, the golden beast shadow suddenly opened its mouth. Wan Qiu and the others and the woman's battle souls immediately flew uncontrollably into the mouth. "Haha! We've struck it big this time," Fatso shouted excitedly. Originally, they only planned to deprive the woman and Wan Qiu of their battle souls. They did not expect Feng Wuxie and the others to also activate their battle souls at this time. Wasn't this a dish delivered to their door? Damn it! Bastard! Beast, I won't forgive you. But Wan Qiu and the others roared again and again. Their faces were pale. However, the woman in Fengzhou was somewhat unfathomable. She curiously looked at Wolf King, as if she was not worried about her battle soul being deprived. Suddenly, her gaze turned and fell on Qin Feiyang's face. There was a faint smile on her face. "Qin Feiyang, we finally meet," the woman muttered to herself and cupped her hands. "I hope Brother Qin and Wolf King can be merciful." Qin Feiyang was taken aback and smiled. "What's the reason?" "There is no reason." The woman shook her head. Qin Feiyang said, "Then there's no other way. You're still the same as before. Cold and ruthless to outsiders." The woman murmured. Not only was she not angry, the smile on her face became even brighter. Qin Feiyang was puzzled. What was this woman smiling about? Boom! But suddenly, a powerful aura emerged from the forest on the left side of the plain. "There's someone else?" Everyone was shocked and looked in the direction of the sound. They immediately saw a bright beam of light piercing through the air like lightning. Boom! That beam of light carried a great power and instantly destroyed the battle souls of Wan Qiu and the others. Lu Xingchen. Looking at this scene, Qin Feiyang's eyes flashed coldly. "Let's go." At the same time, Feng Huo turned around and fled into the depths. Feng Wuxie, the sisters, and Wan Qiu also quickly retreated and soon disappeared without a trace. "Damn it! Fatso, Dongzhengyang, Black Dragon Snake, go after Wan Qiu and the others," Wolf King roared in exasperation. Then he used the void escape step and rushed to the forest on the left side of the plain. But then, Qin Feiyang said, "Don't chase." Wolf King and Fatso were stunned and looked at Qin Feiyang in confusion. Qin Feiyang did not explain and looked up at the woman. Coincidentally, the woman also looked at Qin Feiyang and said with a smile, "Brother Qin, you're not going to bully a weak woman like me, are you?" Qin Feiyang smiled and asked, "Do you think you're weak?" The woman smiled and said, "In front of others my strength is so. But in front of Brother Qin I really don't have much confidence." Qin Feiyang asked curiously, "Then why aren't you nervous at all?" "You're not a man-eating demon, why should I be nervous?" the woman asked. Qin Feiyang said, "But many people say that I'm a demon." The woman said, "That's someone else, not me." Qin Feiyang laughed involuntarily. This woman was indeed a bit interesting. He said, "May I know Mrs.'s name?" "This." The woman hesitated for a moment and said with a smile, "You'll know in the future. Goodbye." Then, the woman turned around, took a mysterious step, and quickly disappeared from the sight of Qin Feiyang and the others. Looking at the woman's back, the smile on Qin Feiyang's face instantly disappeared, and his pupils contracted tightly. Wolf King also stared at the woman's back and said in a deep voice, "Little Qinzi, you noticed it too, right?" Qin Feiyang nodded. Chapter 633. Auxiliary battle arts and killing battle arts were all at the perfect level. What was the background of this woman? Wolf King suddenly transmitted his voice, "Little Qinzi, are there many perfect battle arts in the capital?" Qin Feiyang was slightly stunned and frowned. "Do you suspect that she is from the capital? Then tell me, is there any other explanation?" Wolf King asked back. Qin Feiyang said, "There are indeed many perfect battle arts in the capital, But we can't judge that she is from the capital. Why? Wolf King was puzzled. If she is from the capital, why is she in Feng State and why did she participate in the Battle of the 9 Provinces? Besides, there are no perfect battle arts in the 9 provinces, but it doesn't mean that there are none in other places. For example, places like the Forgotten Land. Qin Feiyong secretly said. Wolf King nodded without leaving a trace. What Qin Feiyong said was indeed reasonable. Whoosh! At this moment, there was a sound of something breaking through the air. Everyone looked over and saw a young man in white galloping out of the jungle on the other side. It was Lu Xingqian. Fatso and the others were surprised. When did Lu Xingqian leave? You are really careless. Qin Feiyong rolled his eyes at them. The man had just slipped away in front of him, but they didn't react until now. However, it was also because of the carelessness of Fatso and the others that he knew that Lu Xingqian was the mysterious man. Soon, Lu Xingqian came to them and said with a smile, "Is it over? What's the result?" Qin Feiyong coldly looked at Lu Xingqian and said, "In the end, that mysterious person messed things up again." Lu Xingqian looked a little embarrassed and said, "It seems that this mysterious man has been secretly watching us. Humph, you better not let me catch you." Wolf King coldly snorted and said in a deep voice, "Where did you go just now? The mysterious man appeared twice, but you disappeared inexplicably. Is this a coincidence? Earlier I suddenly saw a figure flash by in the forest here, so I went over to take a look. In the end I realized that I was seeing things." Lu Xingqian shook his head and smiled. Human shadow? Everyone was bewildered. Fatso frowned. "Then why didn't you tell us?" Lu Xingqian said, "I'm just afraid of alerting the enemy." "You are really bold. If there was really an expert hiding there, with your strength as a 7 stars combat emperor, I'm afraid you would have died without a burial place." Wolf King sneered. "Even if there is, he wouldn't dare to make a move. After all of you are here. If there is any movement, you will immediately notice it." Lu Xingqian smiled. Fatso and the others were still doubtful. Because it was too much of a coincidence, it was hard to believe. "Okay, cut the crap. Let's go," Qin Feiyong said. Lu Xingqian looked at Qin Feiyong gratefully and said with a smile, "Let the king crocodile carry us. We can also cultivate on the way." Qin Feiyong nodded. The group jumped onto the king crocodile's back one after another. Lu Xingqian ordered, and the king crocodile strode forward and flew into the depths of the forest. Qin Feiyong stood at the front with his hands behind his back, looking into the depths of the forest. His dark eyes were incomparably deep. Lu Xingqian looked at his back and walked to Qin Feiyong. He transmitted his voice, "Don't you want to ask me something?" Qin Feiyong said, "If I ask, will you answer?" "No." Lu Xingqian shook his head. "Then do I need to ask? However, just because I didn't ask doesn't mean I don't care. I don't care what you do, but don't do anything to hurt us." Qin Feiyong said. "Don't worry. I know what I'm doing." Lu Xingqian nodded. "You better know what you're doing." Qin Feiyong looked at him meaningfully, then turned to Fatso and Wolf King. He said, "I'm going to the castle. You guys cultivate outside." "Okay." The man and beast nodded. They also knew the purpose of Qin Feiyong going to the castle. Alchemy scripture. 6-word formula. Because he had broken through to War Master, Qin Feiyong could open the next page of the alchemy scripture and 6-word formula. Whoosh! Qin Feiyong flashed and disappeared without a trace. The exposed castle also landed on the king crocodile's back, and continued to move forward. Inside the castle. "Brother Qin, who is that mysterious man?" As soon as Qin Feiyong entered, Shun Long and the others surrounded him, their eyes full of surprise. "I don't know either." Qin Feiyong shook his head. "You don't know?" Everyone was stunned. Jiang Wei was puzzled. "Then why did you say that you already know who he is?" "I did see him, but he was wearing a mask. I said that to scare him, but he didn't fall for it," Qin Feiyong said, looking helpless. He guessed that these people would definitely ask, so he thought of an answer in advance. "I see." Everyone suddenly understood. Qin Feiyong looked up at the iron box on the altar, then looked at the crowd and said, "Now that we've left the swamp, and everyone's strength has improved during this period of cultivation, we can't always stay here." Everyone's heart skipped a beat. Qin Feiyong was obviously asking them to leave. But the key was that it was too dangerous outside, and many people didn't want to leave. Xinlong said, Brother Qin is right. If we keep hiding here, then what's the point of coming to the 9 Nether Yellow Springs? Wu Yan snorted. You're a 1-star battle master now, so of course you have the right to say that. But we're all war emperors. Su Yang smiled flatteringly. Senior Brother Qin, why don't you do a good deed and help everyone break through to the Battle Master realm? As soon as he said that, those who hadn't broken through to the Battle Master realm couldn't help but have green light in their eyes. Qin Feiyong glanced at the two of them and said, If I don't help you, are you going to stay here and not leave? We wouldn't dare, we wouldn't dare. Wu Yan and the others hurriedly waved their hands, their faces full of fear. I think that's what you're thinking. Let me give you a kind advice. Don't be so ungrateful. I've already done my best to bring you here safely. Also, I'm not begging you to leave, I'm throwing you out. After Qin Feiyong finished speaking, he really threw Wu Yan and the others out. In the blink of an eye, only Lu Hong and the others, Ren Wushuang, Shun Long, Jiang Wei, and Shun Mei were left in the castle. Sigh. I really feel sorry for these people. Shun Long sighed. There's nothing I can do about it. That's how the human heart is. Qin Feiyong smiled faintly and warned. Ren Wushuang has already reached the critical moment of his breakthrough, so he will stay in the castle for now. After you go out, pay more attention to Dongfang Wuhan and Murong Xiong's movements. The 3 of them nodded. Qin Feiyong waved his hand, and after sending the 3 of them out of the castle, he turned and walked towards the altar. At this moment, Lu Hong opened his eyes and asked, Qin Feiyong, you really don't know who that mysterious person is? Qin Feiyong replied without turning his head. I know, it's Lu Xingchen. It's actually him. Lu Hong's gaze trembled. At the same time, Ren Wushuang, Lin Luo Qianxue, and the pangolin also opened their eyes. Their hearts were full of disbelief. Qin Feiyong said, This person is not simple. You have to be extra careful when facing him in the future. They nodded. Then, they didn't ask anything, closed their eyes, and continued to cultivate. Qin Feiyong also cut his finger, squeezed out a drop of blood, opened the iron box, took out the pill scripture and Qiankuan pouch, and then opened the 6-word divine formula. When he turned to the 3rd page, a terrifying murderous aura surged out like a tide. On the page, there was a vigorous and powerful word with murderous aura. At the same time, after separating from Qin Feiyong and the others, the woman from Feng State rushed straight to the south. After a few hundred breaths, she stopped in front of a mountain peak about 1,000 feet high, looked up at the mountain peak, and rushed towards the mountain peak. On the edge of a cliff on the top of the mountain, there was a woman in white standing against the wind. Her appearance was not outstanding, but her temperament was very unique. After the woman who fought with Wan Qiu reached the top of the mountain, she ran towards the woman on the cliff and smiled. I'm back. The woman in white turned around and asked with concern, How are you? Are you hurt? How can I be hurt? If it weren't for Qin Feiyong and Wolf King coming to join in the fun, none of the people from Yuzhou and Kong State will leave here alive, the woman said disdainfully, looking quite arrogant. I know you are powerful. The woman in white smiled and asked, Did Qin Feiyong recognize you? No. But he did ask for my name. The woman said. Then how did you answer? The woman in white said. I didn't say anything. Don't worry, I won't show any flaws. What's more, even if I show a flaw, he won't know who I am. After all, so many years have passed. The woman smiled mischievously. The woman in white shook her head and said, It's not that I'm worried, it's that old man. It's better to be careful in the future. After all, Qin Feiyong's insight is terrifying. If there are too many flaws, he will find out sooner or later. All right, I'll try my best to be careful in the future. The woman nodded. At the same time, deep in the forest, Wan Qiu sat cross-legged on a black rock to heal his wounds. Firebeacon and the other 3 stood by his side to protect him. Suddenly, Firebeacon frowned and said, Wan Qiu, did that woman tell you why she attacked you? Wan Qiu opened his eyes and said, She didn't attack me, she attacked us. What? The 4 of them were shocked. This is what she told me personally. After killing me, she will kill you guys. The reason is that we provoked a man we can't afford to offend. Wan Qiu said in a deep voice. A man we can't afford to offend? The four of them frowned. Wan Qiu said, I'm guessing that this man might be someone from the spirit state. Why do you say that? The four of them were puzzled. Wan Qiu said, because in the netherworld, we can only make enemies with the people of the spirit state. The four of them nodded. That was indeed the case, but who was it? Feng Wuxie suddenly raised his eyebrows and said, could it be Qin Feiyang? Firebeacon shook his head and said, it's hard to tell. After all, Qin Feiyang is not the only man in the spirit state. Don't guess. The truth will be revealed sooner or later. The most important thing now is to think of a way to avoid these people. Xuening and her sister said, yeah, from the previous situation, the people of the spirit state really want to kill us. If it was before, it wouldn't matter, but now, at this point, Firebeacon couldn't help but sigh. To be honest, he was very regretful. If he had known, he wouldn't have provoked those people from the spirit state. Wan Qiu and the others also fell silent. The current spirit state was no longer what it used to be. It was no longer something they could shake. Phew! Firebeacon let out a long sigh and said, how about this? Let's find a place to hide first and let Qin Feiyang and the others walk in front. After they leave, we'll continue on our way. If we encounter them in the future, we'll try to avoid them. Hide. Hearing this, Wan Qiu and the others' eyes turned red. This kind of behavior was undoubtedly a great humiliation to proud sons of heaven like them. Chapter 634. Let's talk about Qin Feiyang. He had always wanted to cultivate the third divine art. But now, looking at the introduction of the third god art, he couldn't help but frown, as if he was hesitating. The third divine art was called the kill art. According to the book, the kill art had the ability to increase one's cultivation. Moreover, it could increase one's cultivation by one realm. That's right. It could increase one's cultivation by one realm. Speaking of which, Qin Feiyang should be happy to have such an incredible power. Why was he hesitating? The reason was that the kill art was extremely bloody. The essence of the kill art was to absorb the blood of living beings to increase one's cultivation. The more blood one absorbed, the more one's cultivation would increase. In other words, to increase one's cultivation, one had to kill living beings. The book did not record in detail how much blood one had to absorb to increase one's cultivation by one realm. However, he did not expect that the blood of one or two living beings would not be enough. Although Qin Feiyang admitted that he wasn't a good person, he really couldn't do it if he wanted to wantonly slaughter innocent creatures. The kill art was too vicious and murderous. He did not dare to cultivate it. After a while, Qin Feiyang rubbed his forehead and looked away. He flipped to the third page of the Pill Sutra and read it in detail. There were a total of 28 elixir recipes recorded on it. The dust-forgetting elixir could make one forget everything in the past, which was called amnesia. The dust-forgetting elixir could restore lost memories. The blood coagulation elixir could restore lost blood. It was similar to the lifeblood elixir, but its effect was better than the lifeblood elixir. The Ghost King elixir could directly destroy a living being's cultivation by one realm. There were also the Essence Soul elixir to repair the Sea of Consciousness and the Spirit Sea elixir to repair the Sea of Qi. In short, all the elixirs that Qin Feiyang had heard of were on it. He also looked at the Essence Soul elixir recipe. A total of 18 herbs were needed. The Jade Crystal Flower and the Death Flower were tied for first place. The other 16 herbs were also extremely precious. He did not have any of them on him at the moment. As he continued to read, his eyes suddenly locked onto the last two elixir recipes. He had never heard of these two elixirs before. One was the 9 Transformation Dragon Blood elixir, and the other was the Small Creation elixir. Boom! Qin Feiyang was just about to read the annotations of the two pills in detail, but at this moment a powerful aura suddenly erupted. A breakthrough! He hurriedly looked at Ren Wuxuang. At this moment, Ren Wuxuang's soft and beautiful black hair fluttered in the air. Her snow-white dress fluttered in the wind, and her tender skin was suffused with strands of hazy radiance, causing her to seem extraordinarily stunning. Whoosh! A dozen breaths later, Ren Wuxuang also opened his eyes, and there was a trace of excitement on his face. Qin Feiyong smiled and said, "Congratulations, sis. Now that I've also opened the door of potential, my cultivation speed will definitely not be any slower than yours." "Congratulations indeed." Ren Wuxuang stood up, his face full of smiles. He was very happy. Yes. Sister, your talent is extraordinary and rarely seen in 10,000 years. Who would dare to compare themselves to you? Wouldn't that be asking for a snub?" Qin Feiyong chuckled. "Cut it out." Ren Wuxuang rolled her eyes at him, looked at the pill scripture and asked, "Did you find any more miraculous pills?" "Yes." Qin Feiyong nodded. He would not hide anything from Ren Wuxuang. "Let me take a look." Ren Wuxuang curiously walked to the front of the pill scripture and looked at all the pill formulas carefully. In the end, his gaze locked onto the 9 transformation dragon blood elixir and the small creation elixir. Isn't this the same as the 9 yellow dragon pill and the potential elixir?" Suddenly, she said in surprise. "Is that so?" Qin Feiyong was slightly startled. After taking a closer look, it was indeed the case. The 9 transformation dragon blood elixir had the miraculous effect of allowing war masters or war saints to break through their cultivation. The small creation elixir was specially used to open the door of potential for war masters and war saints. In short, the 9 transformation dragon blood elixir and the small creation elixir were the upgraded versions of the 9 yellow dragon elixir and the potential elixir. However, when he saw the success rate of the 9 transformation dragon blood elixir, Qin Feiyong's eyes froze, as if a basin of cold water had been poured over his head, and his joy disappeared. Although the 9 transformation dragon blood elixir could allow one to break through their cultivation, it could not be compared to the 9 yellow dragon elixir and the scarlet fire-colored glass elixir, because the probability was too low. According to the introduction, the 9 transformation dragon blood elixir without elixir veins only had a 5% success rate. The 9 transformation dragon blood elixir with 1 elixir vein had a 10% success rate. 2 elixir veins had a 20% success rate. 3 elixir veins had a 30% success rate. And so on. In other words, only a divine pill with more than 9 elixir veins and a dragon-shaped elixir qi had a 10% success rate. And now, Qin Feiyong could only refine a pill with 4 elixir veins, which was not even half of the success rate. And even if it was a divine pill, it could only allow one to break through a small realm. As for the small creation elixir, it was the same as the 9 transformation dragon blood elixir. It required a small creation elixir to open the door to one's potential. Unbelievable. Ren Wuxuang was shocked to the extreme. He closed the pill scripture and looked at the signature on the cover. Just who was this Wu Tian to be able to create so many miraculous pills? But when she turned her head and saw the disappointed Qin Feiyong, she couldn't help but roll her eyes and say, "Not to mention the 9 transformation dragon blood elixir's pill formula. Even this name, no one has ever heard of it. You should be satisfied." "Yeah, I should be satisfied." Qin Feiyong nodded, opened the pill scripture again, and read the 9 transformation dragon blood elixir's medicinal ingredients in detail. However, just by seeing the first medicinal ingredient of the 9 transformation dragon blood elixir, he couldn't help but raise his eyebrows and said angrily, "How is it possible to find this kind of medicinal ingredient?" Ren Wuxuang lowered his head to look and nodded. "It is indeed harder than ascending to the heavens, because the first medicinal ingredient was dragon blood. Moreover, it had to be the blood of a true dragon, not even the blood of a flood dragon. One had to know. Dragons had always been legends, and no one had ever seen one before. Where could one find dragon blood? Isn't this making things difficult?" Qin Feiyong shook his head and continued reading. The 9 transformation dragon blood elixir required a total of 66 medicinal ingredients. Apart from the dragon blood, he had seen the other medicinal ingredients in the Imperial Palace's medicinal treasure vault. But in the 9 prefectures it was extremely rare. It seems that it is impossible to refine the 9 yellow dragon elixir in a short period of time. Qin Feiyong sighed deeply, looked at the medicinal ingredients of the small creation pill, and his eyes widened again. The top 3 medicinal ingredients were actually the 10,000-year 9 suns flower, 10,000-year blood ginseng, and 10,000-year snow crystal. Qin Feiyong was no stranger to these 3 medicinal ingredients. Because the three main medicinal ingredients of the potential elixir were these, they were not very rare. It was estimated that Fatso had ready-made medicinal ingredients on him now. But the crux of the problem was that refining the small creation pill required 10,000-year 9 suns flower, blood ginseng, and snow crystal. 10,000 years. The Great Qin Empire had only been established for 10,000 years. Where could they find these medicinal ingredients? It was simply impossible. Qin Feiyang patiently read it in detail, and finally let out a sigh of relief. Although the conditions to refine these two pills were very harsh, there were still praiseworthy aspects. Take the small creation pill for example. Even if one failed to open the door of potential the first time, they would not explode and die. Moreover, they could continue to take the small creation pill and try to open the door of potential again. In short, as long as one had enough small creation pills, they would be able to open it sooner or later. The main problem now was the medicinal ingredients. But these medicinal ingredients were basically hopeless in the 9 prefectures. The only place that could possibly have them was the imperial capital. However, Qin Feiyang was not in a hurry. It was clearly written that it was also effective for battle saints. And now, he was only a 1-star battle ancestor, a full realm away from battle saints. He still had a lot of time to collect these medicinal ingredients. He looked at the bottom of the page. As expected, there was a row of small words. Step into the Battle Emperor realm, and you can flip to the next page. Next. He closed the pill scripture and stopped thinking about the problem of medicinal ingredients. His gaze shifted to the 6-word divine arts. In the corner at the bottom of the kill formula, there was also a row of small words. Only after breaking through to the Battle Emperor realm would one be able to flip to the next page and cultivate the 4th divine arts. After pondering for a while, Qin Feiyang still decided to copy the kill formula. Although the kill formula was too bloody, it could be used as a trump card to help him turn the situation around in a critical moment. Moreover, to Qin Feiyang, who yearned for strength, it was a great fortune. However, the amount of battle chi required to copy the kill formula was even greater than that of the return formula and battle formula. Qin Feiyang was still a battle master and possessed 3 types of battle chi. However, in less than an hour the battle chi in his chi si was completely used up. However, it wasn't a big problem. Because he had a lot of battle chi pills and a lot of battle chi pills medicinal ingredients, it was enough for him to copy the kill formula. While Qin Feiyang was copying the kill formula, Fatso and the others were also slowly advancing. Along the way, they gradually encountered all kinds of fierce beasts. However, the strength of these fierce beasts was still within the acceptable range of the group. However, as the days passed, the strength of the fierce beasts they encountered became stronger and stronger. At the beginning, with Dong Zhongyang, Shen Long and the others taking action, Fatso and Wolf King could still cultivate in peace. But on the 10th day, 5 4-star Battlemaster fierce beasts jumped out to block their way, directly injuring Dong Zhongyang and the others. As a result, Fatso and Wolf King were unable to cultivate. And with their current strength, the 4-star Battlemaster fierce beasts were no longer a threat to them. Just the fatty alone was enough to deal with them easily. Thus, after a month of hurrying, the group finally walked out of the forest without any mishap. In front of the forest, there was a vast plain. However, the entire plain was barren and the soil was black as if it was dyed with ink. The blood mist that filled the air was thicker, and the visibility was only about 50 meters. Moreover, there was a gloomy and cold aura everywhere as if it was from hell. Fatso and the others jumped down from the king crocodile's back one after another. Looking at the plain in front of them, they did not dare to rashly step into it. Because the plain was too quiet, there was no noise at all. Coupled with the blood mist in the air, it formed a very strange atmosphere that made one's hair stand on end. Everyone be careful. Also, don't leave the team. If anything happens, Fat Lord and Brother Wolf will not save you, Fatso said in a deep voice. He, who had always been frivolous, was also incomparably cautious at this moment. Even Wolf King was the same. His eyes were full of vigilance. Everyone nodded. Let's go. Fatso waved his hand. The group maintained their formation and slowly walked into the plain. Their ears were alert and their eyes were looking in all directions, as if they were facing a great enemy. However, the plain was unexpectedly calm. After walking for nearly 20 breaths, there was still no danger. Suddenly, Dong Zhengyang, who was walking beside Fatso, pointed to a place in front and exclaimed, "Look, what's that?" Everyone looked in the direction he pointed and a trace of surprise crept into their eyes. About 50 meters away in the blood mist, there was a huge silhouette that looked like a peerless beast lurking there. "Be careful," the fatty warned once more before leading the group towards the blurry silhouette. As the distance continued to shrink, the silhouette became clearer. When they walked for more than 20 meters, the group suddenly stopped at the same time as if they had seen something terrifying. Their eyes were full of horror. The silhouette was a huge stone door. The stone door was more than 10 feet tall and 50 to 60 feet wide. It was completely red as if it had been soaked in blood. The gloomy and cold aura came from this stone door. However, this was not what scared them. What really scared them were the 3 words on the crossbeam above the stone door. Chapter 635. How could there be a gate of hell? As everyone knew, the gate of hell was a very ethereal existence. There were legends among the people that there were not only humans in the world, but also many ghosts. These ghosts lived in a place called the Netherworld. This was where living creatures went after death. In other words, all living creatures that died would go to the Netherworld, be sent to the 18 levels of hell, or be reincarnated. It was rumored that the gate of hell was the first door to the Netherworld. But rumors were just rumors. No one knew if the Netherworld really existed. However, at this moment the gate of hell appeared in front of them. How could they not be shocked? Did the Netherworld really exist? If they entered the gate of hell, would they enter the Netherworld? The legendary Netherworld was not a good place. The group of people looked at the stone door in horror, not daring to take half a step forward. Once they entered the gate of hell, they would die. What should they do? Wu Yan and the others looked at Fatso and Dong Zhengyang. They were all flustered and at a loss. Fatso pondered for a while and shouted, "Boss, we are in big trouble. Come out." After a month of non-stop copying, Qin Feiyong had already copied half of the first stroke of the kill formula. Originally, he wanted to do it in one step and copy it directly, because this way he could break through to the 2-star Battle Master realm and catch up with Fatso and Wolf King. However, he could not ignore Fatso's request for help. After retracting his arm, he closed the 6 words divine formula and closed the iron box. He took a battle chi pill and left the castle with Ren Wushuang, appearing on the back of the Crocodile King. As soon as the two came out, they frowned. The atmosphere here was not right. Fatso pointed at the gate of hell and said in a deep voice, "Boss, look there." Qin Feiyong raised his head to look, and his pupils suddenly shrank. At the same time, Ren Wushuang also turned pale. What was going on? They actually came to the gate of hell? Qin Feiyong jumped down and walked to Fatso's side. Looking at the stone door seriously, he hesitated for a moment. Someone said, "Why don't we retreat? Maybe Commander Wang Hong and City Lord Zhang Qianqing are still waiting for us on the plains." He had heard of it. Those who were timid could not help but be moved. Lu Xingchen frowned and said, "I don't want to give up halfway. If you want to go back, go back." "Why are you, a 7 stars combat emperor, pretending?" Someone shouted angrily. Lu Xingchen turned to look at that person. A cold light flashed in his eyes, but he didn't say anything. He turned to look at Qin Feiyong and said, "Shall we go scout first?" "That's inappropriate." Qin Feiyong shook his head. "Why?" Lu Xingchen was puzzled. He knew Qin Feiyong well. Qin Feiyong was definitely not afraid. He must be worried about something. Qin Feiyong said, "No one knows what's inside. I think it's better for us to go in together. If we encounter danger, we can help each other." Lu Xingchen nodded and said, "What you said makes sense. But they don't dare to go in." Qin Feiyong glanced at the crowd behind him and said lightly, "Those who want to go in, follow me. Those who want to go back, do it as soon as possible." After saying that, he stepped forward and walked toward the gate of hell. Little Qin Zi is right. We don't need useless trash. They won't drag us down. Wolf King smiled disdainfully. He then jumped and landed on Qin Feiyong's shoulder. Fatso, Lu Xingchen, Ren Wushuang, Black Dragon Snake, and Dong Zhengyang quickly followed. King Crocodile also became palm-sized. It lay on Lu Xingchen's shoulder and looked around vigilantly. What should we do? The rest of Wu Yan and the others were in a mess. They suggested to go back because of Lu Xingqian. Because only King Crocodile with Lu Xingqian could take them safely through the swamp. But now, King Crocodile left with Lu Xingqian. Qin Feiyang and the others didn't plan to go back either. With their strength, it was a problem whether they could walk out of the jungle behind them alive, let alone through the swamp. Because the beasts in the jungle were more terrifying than the dragon crocodiles in the swamp. Taking a step back. Even if they could walk out of the jungle and the swamp alive, there were endless skeletons in the plains first. So, it was impossible for them to return to the starting point with just these people. Su Yang sighed deeply and said sadly, "We have no choice but to move forward." Hearing that, everyone's heart was full of helplessness. If they could have another chance, they wouldn't have come to this damn place even if they were beaten to death. In the end, these people still followed behind Qin Feiyang and the others, walking toward the gate of hell. More than 10 breaths later, the group came to the gate of hell and stopped. Qin Feiyang looked at the stone door and said without turning his head, "No matter what happens later, I hope everyone won't panic and deal with it calmly." Understood. Everyone nodded. Phew. Qin Feiyang took a deep breath and carefully walked forward, reaching out his hand to press on the stone door. Immediately, a gust of bone-chilling cold air swept over. But this cold current didn't cause any psychological burden to him. Instead, it made him more energetic and calm. Suddenly, with a shake of his arm, a surge of majestic energy surged out like a landslide. Boom! The stone door suddenly opened quickly. At the same time, Qin Feiyang took a step back and stared at the crack of the door. His nerves were also tense. Crash! Just as the stone door opened, a bloody mist surged out from within like waves of blood. It emitted an astonishing baleful aura, as well as an ice-cold aura. In an instant, the group of people felt as if they had fallen into an ice valley, and their whole body was cold. Boom! A few breaths passed. Accompanied by a deafening sound, the stone door opened completely. Blood mist surged inside and nothing could be seen. But the aura that rushed out of the stone door made them panic from the bottom of their hearts. Qin Feiyang said in a deep voice, "Fatso, Black Dragon Snake, Ren Wushuang, Shun Mei, go to the castle and hide for a while." When the stone door opened, he couldn't help but have an uneasy premonition in his heart. Therefore, for safety, they couldn't all stay outside. But before he could finish, the others began to clamor. "Qin Feiyang, what do you mean? You let them go to the castle but not us. Aren't you biased? You can't be so selfish, you know?" The group of people gritted their teeth, filled with righteous indignation, as if someone owed them. Qin Feiyang waved his hand and sent Fatso and the rest to the castle. He turned around and glanced at Wu Yan and the others. "Actually, I really wanted to let you go to the castle, but you didn't let me finish my words. As for now, don't even think about it. Not only now but also in the future. Your life and death have nothing to do with me." Qin Feiyang left these words coldly and no longer paid attention to Wu Yan and the others. He took out an ordinary weapon and threw it into the stone door, carefully listening to the movements inside. Looking at Wu Yan and the others, it was too late for regrets. Why were they so anxious? At least listen to what others had to say. Wasn't this cutting off their own path of survival? "Senior Brother Qin, we were wrong. We shouldn't have doubted you. Senior Brother Qin, please be magnanimous and don't argue with us, okay? Really, we will definitely change." The group of people began to plead. But in the end, Qin Feiyang turned a deaf ear. Clang! Suddenly, an ear-piercing metallic sound came from the stone door. If there was a sound, it meant that there was solid ground inside. "Let's go." Immediately, Qin Feiyang did not waste any more time. With a wave of his hand, he took the lead and entered the gates of hell. Dong Zhongyang and the others followed closely behind. To be honest, everyone had taken good care of Wu Yan and the others along the way. However, not only did these people not know how to be grateful, they even jumped out to cause trouble time and time again. This was truly unbearable. So, Dong Zhongyang and the others were too lazy to care about their lives. Life and death were fated. Wealth and honor were up to the heavens. Let them fend for themselves. At the same time, looking at the backs of Qin Feiyang and the others who did not even turn their heads back, Wu Yan and the others were anxious and angry. Su Yang suddenly roared. Who was the one who started the commotion? It's him. Wu Yan pointed to a tall and sturdy man in white. Bastard, you're courting death. Su Yang's killing intent immediately rose. He took a step forward and landed in front of the white-clothed man, and actually smashed his head with a punch. Although in front of Qin Feiyong and the others, Su Yang's strength was not great, but in the War Emperor realm, he could be considered a top expert. As for that big man, he was only a 7-star War Emperor. He was not prepared in advance, so it was normal for him to be killed instantly. However, Su Yang's actions were somewhat shameful, because he himself jumped higher than anyone else, but now he was taking his anger out on others. What was going on? However, due to Su Yang's strength, the others did not dare to say anything. Wu Yan, who was in cahoots with Su Yang, also sneered and said, "There's no need to be angry with them. Hurry up and go in. Otherwise, once Qin Feiyong and the others leave, we will have no way to survive." Su Yang nodded, pointed to the big man lying in a pool of blood, and coldly snorted, "Whoever dares to cause trouble in the future and offend Qin Feiyong, he will be the one to end up like him." After saying that, the two of them turned around and ran into the stone door without looking back. These two bastards, why didn't I see them being so arrogant in front of Qin Feiyong? Qin Feiyong only needs to wave his hand to turn them into ashes. Do they have the guts to do so? Yeah, it's our fault for being weaker than him. In order to survive, we have to endure it. The group of people sighed deeply and quickly ran into the stone door. After the last person entered the stone door automatically closed with a rumble. Soon, another 5 people came to the gates of hell. It was Wan Qiu and the others. The gates of hell. Like Qin Feiyong and the others, when they saw the stone door, they all felt panic in their hearts. There's a corpse. The 5 of them walked to the big man's corpse. After a moment of careful observation, Feng Hui said, "It's someone from the spirit state. The blood is still warm. He died not long ago." Wan Qiu's eyes flashed coldly. That means they just went in, and there are no traces of fighting here. Before they went in, they must have had an internal conflict. Feng Hui nodded and asked, "Should we wait before going in?" Wan Qiu clenched his fists and nodded. Wait. This word was practically said through gritted teeth. It was enough to show how sullen he was in his heart. Sigh. At the same time, Chapter 636. Inside the gates of hell. A thick blood fog shrouded everything around. A group of people walked in the blood fog, vigilantly scanning the surroundings, and their faces were extremely solemn. These people were Qin Feiyong and the others. Because the blood fog was too thick, the visibility was only 5 meters, so their speed was very slow. However, it was unexpectedly calm along the way, and no accidents happened. Dong Zhongyang frowned and said, "Qin Feiyong, do you think we're thinking too much?" "Is that so?" Qin Feiyong muttered. But why was the uneasiness in his heart getting stronger and stronger? Suddenly, Lu Xingchen said, "This place is not simple, don't let your guard down." "What do you mean?" Dong Zhongyang was surprised. Lu Xingchen said, "I can't explain it, but I just feel uneasy." Qin Feiyong looked at Lu Xingchen in surprise. Even Lu Xingchen felt uneasy. It seemed that it was not an illusion. "You have this feeling too?" Seeing Qin Feiyong looking at him, Lu Xingchen frowned and said, Qin Feiyong nodded. Immediately, their hearts sank, and they became even more careful. However, as they moved forward, everything was calm and tranquil. They really couldn't figure out why they had such a feeling. Unknowingly, half an hour passed. Qin Feiyong said with a wry smile, "Maybe we have an illusion at the same time." "Yes." Lu Xingchen also smiled bitterly. But suddenly, Qin Feiyong noticed that there was a blood fog in Lu Xingchen's eyes. Swish. He hurriedly looked at Dong Zhengyang and the others next to him, and found that there was a faint blood fog in their eyes. "What's going on?" Qin Feiyong stopped, his face full of surprise. "What is it?" Seeing Qin Feiyong suddenly stop, Lu Xingchen and the others looked at him in confusion. Qin Feiyong said, "Can you see if there's any blood in my eyes?" Everyone was stunned and looked at Qin Feiyong's eyes. He wouldn't have known if he didn't look, but when he did, he was shocked. There was also a bloody mist in Qin Feiyong's eyes. Wolf King's eyes were the same. What's going on? Everyone looked at each other. It's too bizarre. Qin Feiyang mumbled. He turned around and walked towards Wu Yan and the others. He wanted to see if everyone was like this. However, when he arrived in front of Wu Yan and Su Yang and saw their eyes, he was instantly shocked and turned pale. Not only were their eyes filled with a bloody mist, even their eyeballs had turned red. He hurriedly checked the eyes of the others and found that the situation was exactly the same as Wu Yan's. Very soon, everyone also noticed this abnormality and couldn't help but panic. Calm down. Lu Xingqian coldly shouted, looked at Qin Feiyang and said, we must speed up. Qin Feiyang nodded and shouted, full speed ahead, don't leave the team. Everyone nodded. Let's go. Qin Feiyang waved his hand. He then turned around and led everyone forward at a fast speed. The sky was filled with blood mist. They didn't know where the exit was, so they could only move forward. About 50 breaths of time. Suddenly, a pained wail came from behind. Qin Feiyang quickly stopped and turned around, only to see Xiang Xiaolong lying on the ground, holding his head with both hands, screaming hysterically. What's going on? Qin Feiyang walked to Xiang Xiaolong's side and asked Wu Yan. I'm in front of him, I don't know what's going on. Wu Yan shook his head. I'm behind Xiang Xiaolong, I know. A short young man stood up. Qin Feiyang said, hurry up and say it. The short young man said, I saw it with my own eyes just now. He was running and lying on the ground, but I don't know what's going on. Strange. Qin Feiyang frowned. Let me see. Lu Xingqian pushed Qin Feiyang away and walked to Xiang Xiaolong, frowning. Xiang Xiaolong, are you okay? However, Xiang Xiaolong didn't seem to hear it, and he stopped screaming, stopped struggling, and lay motionless on the ground. Lu Xingqian laughed. It seems that he's fine. Phew. Everyone also let out a long breath. It was really a false alarm. But Qin Feiyang didn't relax and stared at Xiang Xiaolong. He felt that things weren't over. Because if Xiang Xiaolong was really fine, he would definitely answer Lu Xingqian. But now, not only did Xiang Xiaolong not answer, but he was also lying on the ground. Obviously something was wrong. Seeing that Xiang Xiaolong didn't move, Lu Xingqian smiled faintly. If you're fine, get up quickly, why are you lying there? But Xiang Xiaolong still didn't say a word. What's going on? Everyone was surprised again. Lu Xingqian frowned and reached out to grab Xiang Xiaolong's arm, trying to pull him up. But at this moment, a sinister laugh suddenly rang out, and the person who let out that sinister laugh was Xiang Xiaolong. Immediately after, Xiang Xiaolong suddenly raised his head and pounced towards Lu Xingqian. And the moment he raised his head, Qin Feiyang and the rest were aghast. Because the current Xiang Xiaolong and the previous Xiang Xiaolong were two completely different people. The current Xiang Xiaolong, not only was his face full of glaring blood vessels, but his eyes were also blood red. Most importantly at this moment, his eyes were ruthless, cold, cruel and bloodthirsty. Lu Xingqian was also shocked by this sudden scene and instinctively struck out with his palm. Boom! Xiang Xiaolong was sent flying on the spot, spitting out blood. But as if he didn't feel pain, he immediately got up from the ground and pounced on the woman closest to him with a sinister smile. His face was extremely sinister. What's going on? Everyone was bewildered. When the woman saw Xiang Xiaolong pouncing towards her, her beautiful face turned pale and she quickly retreated. Dong Zhenyang frowned. He seems to have gone mad. Qin Feiyang said. No, he's not mad, he's lost his mind. Wake up. Lu Xingqian roared and went forward to grab Xiang Xiaolong's neck, then slapped Xiang Xiaolong's face. Xiang Xiaolong immediately spat out a mouthful of blood, and his teeth were all shattered. But even so, he showed no signs of waking up. He bared his fangs and brandished his claws, laughing sinisterly as if he was possessed. How could this be? Qin Feiyang frowned. Logically speaking, Lu Xingqian's slap should be able to wake Xiang Xiaolong up, but why did it have no effect at all? Suddenly, he glanced at the blood mist in the void, his face full of surprise. Could it be that the blood mist was causing trouble? Dong Zhang shouted. Lu Xingqian, don't waste any more time, go quickly. This place was too strange. He didn't want to stay a moment longer. What about him? Lu Xingqian frowned. This him was naturally referring to Xiang Xiaolong. Dong Zhengyang said. Up to you as long as you don't drag everyone down. However, before he finished speaking, another painful scream rang out. Everyone hurriedly looked over and saw that the person who screamed was the woman who was attacked by Xiang Xiaolong earlier. They saw that the woman, like Xiang Xiaolong before, was half kneeling on the ground, holding her head with both hands, looking extremely painful. Moreover, her face was also quickly crawling with shocking bloodlines. Seeing this scene, everyone present trembled with fear. Qin Feiyong also looked at the woman, but suddenly seemed to have discovered something, and looked up at the woman's head. Suddenly, his eyes sank and then looked at the other people's heads, and said in a deep voice, "It can't be wrong." What? Everyone looked at Qin Feiyong. Qin Feiyong said, "Their changes are related to this blood mist." Blood mist? Everyone was surprised. This blood mist can drill into our sea of consciousness, erode our rationality, and make us crazy. Look at her head. There are traces of blood mist drilling into the top of her head. Now not only her, our rationality is also being eroded by the blood mist. Qin Feiyong said. Everyone looked at the woman and sure enough, there was blood mist constantly seeping into the top of her head, but it was not very obvious so they did not notice it before. Shunlong said. Then won't we also become like them? Definitely. It's only because her and Xiang Xiaolong's cultivation are the lowest, so they went crazy before us. Qin Feiyong said. As soon as these words came out, the place immediately fell into chaos, and everyone was in danger. Senior brother Qin, you must help us. I don't want to die. I'll kneel down, I'll kowtow to you. Suddenly, Wu Yan and Su Yang ran in front of Qin Feiyong, knelt on the ground and begged. Senior brother Qin, we also kneel down to you. We also kowtow to you. We beg you to be merciful and save everyone. Seeing this, except for Dong Zhengyang and a few others, the others also knelt down, their faces full of despair. If the exit was right in front of them, they definitely wouldn't beg Qin Feiyong. But now there wasn't even a shadow of the exit. Who knew how long they would have to stay here? And this blood mist was still pouring into their heads, and they would follow in Xiang Xiaolong's footsteps at any time. So, Qin Feiyong was their only hope now. In the blink of an eye, the woman finally stopped screaming and laughed sinisterly. Her hair was disheveled and her eyes were blood red. Like a devil from hell, she pounced on the crowd. At the same time, another two people went crazy. After struggling in pain for a while, they pounced on the people next to them like hungry wolves. Damn it! Dong Zhengyang cursed and quickly took action, directly ending the lives of the three people. Then, he turned to look at Qin Feiyong and said in a deep voice, although I don't want to help them, they are really pitiful now. Why don't I help them again? Pitiful people must have something to hate. Wolf King snorted coldly. Dongfang Wuhan sighed. We are all from the spiritual state. Why do you have to be so ruthless? Ruthless? Wolf King was slightly stunned and suddenly laughed out of anger. Dongfang Wuhan frowned and finally smiled apologetically. I was talking too much, I'm sorry. Because in the current situation, he didn't dare to offend Qin Feiyong and Wolf King. You think you can just say sorry? Wolf King sneered. Then what do you want? Like them, kneel down and apologize to you, Dongfang Wuhan said. Wolf King's eyes flashed fiercely. It looked like it was going to attack directly, but Qin Feiyong stopped it and said, don't talk nonsense with him. Then he looked at Wu Yan and the others and said, I won't let you enter the castle again, but seeing that Dong Zhengyang pleaded for you, I can let Wolf King take you there. As for whether you live or die in the end, it will depend on your luck. Dong Zhengyang nodded and said, that's good, Wolf King's speed is fast, and your chances of survival are also high. Is that all? Wu Yan and the others were disappointed. But even if they had resentment in their hearts, they didn't dare to show it. Because Dongfang Wuhan's words had already angered Wolf King and Qin Feiyong. If they dared to say half a word more, Qin Feiyong and Wolf King would definitely not bring them along. At that time there would be no hope at all. Chapter 637. However, Wu Yan and the others didn't know that even if they hid their resentment in their hearts, Wolf King was still unwilling to do so. Little Qin Zi, why are you still helping them? Is there something wrong with your brain? Wolf King secretly transmitted his voice. He was a little angry. Qin Feiyong said, "We'll talk later. Let's go first." Wolf King raised his eyebrows and jumped down from Qin Feiyong's shoulder. He swept everyone up and used the void escape step to rush forward. As for Xiang Xiaolong, he was also mercilessly killed by Lu Xingchen. After rushing for a while, Wolf King transmitted his voice. "Now tell me, why are you still helping them?" Qin Feiyong secretly said, "I'm doing Dong Zhengyang a favor." "What do you mean?" Wolf King was puzzled. "Didn't you hear me? I just said that I'm helping them because Dong Zhengyang pleaded for them. In other words, Dong Zhengyang now indirectly owes me a favor," Qin Feiyong said. Although Dong Zhengyang had a grudge against him, he was upright and upright. He was worthy of a deep friendship. Of course, he might not gain anything by doing this. However, he did enforce it. What would happen in the end would be up to fate. Wolf King glanced at him and didn't complain anymore. He let everyone as fast as lightning. After a dozen breaths, another person went crazy. Dong Zhengyang asked, "What should we do?" Wolf King said without turning his head, "Just kill him." Dong Zhengyang frowned and smashed that person's head with his palm. As for the corpse, he directly threw it into the blood mist. How far is the exit? If this continues, not only them, but even we will not be able to escape. Shen Long transmitted his voice to Qin Feiyong and the others. He was also panicking. As time passed, those combat emperors went crazy one by one. In less than 100 breaths, other than Qin Feiyong and the other war masters, only Wu Yan and Su Yang remained rational. However, although they hadn't gone mad yet, they were almost driven mad. That was because all those who had lost their minds were directly killed by Dong Zhengyang and the others. It could be said that they were merciless. This scared them. This was because the two of them were the weakest among the people who were still alive. They might go crazy in the next moment. And the outcome of going crazy would definitely be the same as the others, obliterated by Dong Zhengyang and the others. Where the hell is this damn exit? The two of them were about to go crazy. Jejia, suddenly, another sinister laugh rang out. Dong Zhengyang and the others instinctively looked at Wu Yan and Wu Yan, killing intent flashing in their eyes. They thought that the two of them had gone mad. But in the end, he found that the two of them had not lost their minds. Then the question was, where did this sinister laughter come from? Jejia. Before they could come back to their senses, another burst of sinister laughter rang out. Furthermore, more than one person was laughing sinisterly. There were many of them. These sinister laughter came from the left and right sides. It was like the laughter of the devil, making one's scalp tingle. Whoosh! The next moment, white figures rushed out from the blood mist on both sides and pounced on Qin Feiyong and the others. These people's faces were covered with shocking blood vessels. Their blood-red eyes were cruel and bloodthirsty, like a pack of hungry jackals and wolves. Qin Feiyong and the others hurriedly glanced and found that there were more than 100 people, and the clothes on the chest were embroidered with different words. They were Feng Yu Kuan Chong and Yi. These 5 words each represented a state. Feng represented Feng's state. Yu represented Yu's state. In other words, these were people from the 5 states. So many. Seeing these people appear, Wu Yan and Wu Yan's eyes suddenly widened. "Senior brother Qin, I beg you, let us go to the castle. I swear I won't have any objections to what you say in the future." The line of defense in their hearts completely collapsed, and they begged Qin Feiyong endlessly. "Shut up!" Qin Feiyong coldly shouted, looked at Dong Zhengyang and the others, and said in a deep voice, "Don't entangle with them, let's go." Wolf King didn't care about anything and was only responsible for leading them to escape, while Qin Feiyong and the others were responsible for fighting the enemy. Fortunately, those who lost their minds were not strong, and did not have much impact on them. But that group of people chased them crazily. Gradually, even Qin Feiyong became irritated, because so much time had passed, but there was still no trace of the exit. They couldn't help but wonder if there was an exit here. Or did they have to use other methods to make the exit appear? About 100 breaths later, accompanied by a painful howl, Su Yang finally went crazy. "Save me!" He held his head and roared hysterically at Qin Feiyong, his face full of despair. Qin Feiyong was silent. Since entering the inner hall, This person had repeatedly schemed against him, and when he came to the 9 nether yellow springs, he repeatedly jumped out to cause trouble. When encountering such a thing, even a kind person would have the intention to kill. What's more, Qin Feiyong was not a kind person. Seeing Qin Feiyong indifferent, Su Yang suddenly despaired to the extreme and roared, "You bastard, I swear, I won't let you go even if I become a ghost." "Say it again." Qin Feiyong suddenly turned his head. His eyes filled with a bone-piercing cold light. Bastard, your whole family will die a horrible death." Su Yang roared. At this point, what was he afraid of? Anyway, it was a dead end. "Okay, I'll save you." Qin Feiyong stepped forward and directly sent Su Yang into the castle. Seeing this, Wu Yin couldn't help but be stunned. What's wrong with this person? Su Yang scolded him so viciously, but he still saved him. Could it be that he had masochism? Thinking of this, Wu Yin also cursed at Qin Feiyong. "You bastard, come and kill me if you have the guts." Qin Feiyong said, "Okay, I'll save you too." Wu Yin was stunned and immediately became wild with joy. This guy was indeed a masochist. If he had known earlier, he wouldn't have begged him and directly scolded him. Qin Feiyong also did as he said. With a wave of his hand, Wu Yin was also sent to the castle. What's going on? Dong Zhongyang and the others looked at each other, not knowing what was going on. Perhaps of the people present, only the Wolf King knew what Qin Feiyong was planning to do. Qin Feiyong didn't say anything more, turned around and landed beside Wolf King and said, "Continue." "Okay." The Wolf King chuckled. But before his voice fell, a sudden change occurred. The surrounding blood mist disappeared at a speed visible to the naked eye. That's right. It disappeared. And it disappeared into thin air. What's going on? Looking at this scene, their eyes were full of surprise. When all the blood mist disappeared, they looked back and were surprised to find that all the people who had lost their minds in the 5 regions had also disappeared. Was it an illusion? They looked at each other. Pa! Suddenly, Wolf King jumped up and slapped Dongfang Wuhan's face with his claws. Dongfang Wuhan was stunned on the spot and said angrily, "What are you doing?" Wolf King asked, "Does it hurt?" Dongfang Wuhan's face darkened and he roared, "Nonsense, do you want me to slap you?" No need. Wolf King quickly waved his claws and said with a smile, "Since you can feel pain, it means that it's not an illusion." "That's true." Dongfang Wuhan nodded, but then he said angrily, "Don't try to change the topic. I can't let you slap me for nothing." Wolf King jumped onto Qin Feiyong's shoulder, picked his nose and said indifferently, "I didn't slap you for nothing. At least now we know that everything that happened is real." Dongfang Wuhan was so angry that smoke was coming out of his head. Wolf King jokingly said, "So unhappy, do you want to slap me back?" "Okay." Dongfang Wuhan stepped forward, raised his arm and slapped Wolf King. Wolf King cast a sidelong glance at Dongfang Wuhan and said, "I won't fight back, but what are the consequences?" Hearing the word consequences, Dongfang Wuhan's arm suddenly stiffened, and he didn't dare to slap him again. "Why aren't you fighting?" "Hurry up, I'm waiting." Wolf King looked at Dongfang Wuhan indifferently, the contempt in his eyes undisguised. Dongfang Wuhan's face was ashen. He couldn't fight, but he couldn't not fight either. For a moment, he was riding a tiger and couldn't get off. Is it appropriate to cause internal strife in front of so many of us? At this moment, a clear voice rang out, breaking the deadlock. Qin Feiyong raised his eyebrows and looked in the direction of the voice. He saw a group of people gathered more than 200 meters away. There were a total of 13 people, both men and women, and all of them had extraordinary temperaments. 6 of them had the word Feng embroidered on their chest. The other 7 had the word Yu embroidered on their clothes. They were obviously people from Feng State and Yu State. Furthermore, they were all War Master S. The valiant woman from Feng State was also among them. When the woman saw Qin Feiyong looking over, she smiled and said, "Brother Qin, we meet again." "Yeah, we're quite fated." Qin Feiyong smiled and began to size up the surrounding environment. The place where they were now was also a black plain without a single blade of grass. However, the blood mist was very light, and the visibility could reach more than 500 meters. The woman asked, "Brother Qin, do you know where this place is?" "Where is this place?" Qin Feiyong was puzzled and looked at the woman again. The woman didn't answer. She turned around and retreated to the side. Then, with a wave of her hand, the other 12 people also stepped aside. When the group of people stepped aside, the pupils of Qin Feiyong and the others suddenly shrank. Behind the group of people, there was a stone tablet standing tall. The stone tablet was 2 meters tall and 1 meter wide. It was completely black and emitted a cold aura. On the stone tablet there were 3 words that made people tremble in fear. Bridge of Helplessness. The few of them looked at the stone tablet, their hearts surging. Before it was the gate of hell and now it was the Bridge of Helplessness. Could it be that the place this road led to was really the underworld? And behind the stone tablet there really was an ancient stone bridge. The stone bridge was more than 2 meters wide. It was like a dark python winding and winding, extending to the end of the world. There were no railings on both sides of the ancient bridge. The whole thing gave people a cold and mysterious feeling. The woman from Feng province asked, "Brother Qin, this Bridge of Helplessness is a legendary existence. It's mysterious and unpredictable. Do you want to travel with us?" "Travel with us?" Qin Feiyong was stunned and said with a smile, "Traveling with us is fine, but I'm afraid of being plotted against. Brother Qin can rest assured about this. Although we are competitors, we of Feng province and Yu province will never do such a despicable thing as plotting against others." The woman smiled faintly. The others from Feng province and Yu province also had friendly smiles on their faces. Dongfang Wuhan said, "Junior brother Qin, they must be planning something. Don't be fooled by their appearance." Qin Feiyong pondered for a moment and said, "Let's go and take a look first." The group of people stepped forward and walked towards the woman and the others. Chapter 638. After dozens of breaths, the 2 groups of people met up. Suddenly, Qin Feiyong noticed a person sitting cross-legged in the crowd on Yu Zhou's side. It was a man. He was handsome, tall, and had long sky-blue hair. His eyes were slightly closed, and the aura around his body was sometimes strong and sometimes weak. The woman from Fengzhou explained with a smile, "He's trying to break through to a 3-star battle ancestor. It's precisely because we're waiting for him that we haven't stepped onto the Bridge of Helplessness." Qin Feiyong's pupils constricted. His gaze moved away from the man and scanned everyone from the 2 provinces. He smiled and said, "You guys are so strong. If we travel with you, wouldn't it be the same as accompanying a wolf?" "Brother Qin, you're wrong. You're the ones with wolves now, not us," a woman from Yuzhou said with a smile. As she spoke, she glanced at Wolf King on Qin Feiyong's shoulder. Wolf King chuckled and said, "Little girl, you're wrong too. I'm not an ordinary wolf. I'm an unparalleled and unique divine wolf. Quickly worship me." The woman from Yuzhou immediately covered her mouth and laughed. The others were also amused. Qin Feiyong looked at the woman from Yuzhou. This woman's appearance was also very ordinary, but her aura was almost on par with the woman from Fengzhou. "Brother Qin, there are a total of 5 1-star battle ancestors, 4 2-star battle ancestors, and 3 3-star battle ancestors. Including the blue-haired youth who hasn't broken through yet, there are 4 of them. We can't be careless." Lu Xingchen transmitted his voice. "Yes," Qin Feiyong secretly replied. He looked at the woman from Fengzhou and asked, "Have you seen Wan Qiu and the others?" "No, they should still be behind us." The woman shook her head. Qin Feiyong frowned and said, "It seems that they are deliberately avoiding us." The woman smiled and said, "With their little strength, do they dare to face us head-on?" Qin Feiyong was stunned. Wan Qiu and the others were already quite strong, but he didn't expect them to be so weak in the eyes of this woman. But then again, with the overall strength of Feng State, they did have the capital to do so. After thinking for a while, Qin Feiyong asked again, "Did you see anyone from He province and Yun province?" He had never forgotten Tan Wu, Mo Wushan, and the others. "I didn't see anyone from Cloud State, but I did see someone from He State. But the strange thing is, it seems like there is only one person." The woman frowned. Wolf King sneered, "Of course it's only one person. We've killed all the others." "Killed them all?" The expressions of the woman and the others froze. They originally thought that only one person from He province had come, or that the others had died under the fangs of the ferocious beasts on the way, but they didn't expect that it was the work of this group of people. This He province was truly unlucky to have encountered this group of fiends. Don't talk so much. In the meantime, Qin Feiyong rolled his eyes at Wolf King and asked the woman, "When did you meet him?" Without a doubt, the person from He province that the woman and the others met was Tan Wu. 2 days ago, right here. But he has already stepped onto the bridge of helplessness. What's wrong? Brother Qin, are you going to kill them all? The woman asked with a smile. Qin Feiyong smiled and then walked towards the bridge of helplessness. Wait. The woman hurriedly stopped him. What's wrong? Qin Feiyong was suspicious. Wolf King, Lu Xingchen, and the others were also vigilant. Don't get me wrong, I don't mean any harm. The woman explained a little, then took out a shabby dagger from her Qianquan bag and threw it forward. Dong! The dagger fell on the side of the bridge. But when it landed, it splashed up layers of waves. Huh! Qin Feiyong and the others were surprised. Although we are on land, there is a vast ocean under and around the bridge of helplessness. Because the water in the ocean is black, similar to the black soil under our feet, and the seawater is still, it is difficult to find it if you don't look carefully. And that black water has a terrifying corrosive power. Not to mention our flesh and blood, even if a sharp weapon falls into it, it will melt in the blink of an eye. So I stopped you to remind you to be careful. The woman explained. Heard. Qin Feiyong couldn't help but break out in a cold sweat. He cupped his hands and said, "Thank you for your reminder, Mississippi." The woman smiled and said, "Now can Brother Qin rest assured and travel with us?" Qin Feiyong pondered for a moment and shook his head. "I can't make the decision on this matter. I have to discuss it with everyone." The woman smiled and said, "Mutual respect should be like this." Qin Feiyong smiled faintly and continued to walk towards the stone tablet. Walking closer, besides the words Bridge of Helplessness, there was also a row of small words on the stone tablet. The general content was that as long as you step onto the Bridge of Helplessness, there is no turning back. There is a legend among the people that Mengpa lives on the Bridge of Helplessness. But there is only a bridge here, which shows that this isn't the real hell. The woman walked up to Qin Feiyong and smiled. Who knows if this kind of legend is true or false? Qin Feiyong shook his head and said, "But have you ever thought about the meaning of the Bridge of Helplessness's existence?" The woman answered, "I have, but I can't think of anything." Qin Feiyong sighed. "I really hope we can cross this bridge and reach the other side." It won't be that easy to reach the other side. According to the legends, at the end of the Bridge of Helplessness, there is a place called the Sea of Bitterness. Only by crossing the Sea of Bitterness can you reach the other side. If the gates of hell is so dangerous, then the Sea of Bitterness and the Bridge of Helplessness are definitely not good places either. The woman said. Qin Feiyong nodded, turned to look at the woman and said, "Speaking of the gates of hell, I suddenly thought of something. How did you guys get out?" The woman thought back for a moment and said, "I remember at that time we were about to lose our minds, but the blood mist suddenly disappeared." Qin Feiyong said, "Our situation is the same." The woman said, "According to our speculation, it should be related to our cultivation." What do you mean? Qin Feiyong was suspicious. The woman asked, "Are all of you war sect members who survived?" Qin Feiyong nodded. "In that case, our speculation is true. At first, we all suspected that the existence of the gates of hell was to eliminate the weaker ones. But we don't have any evidence, so we can't be sure. Now that I've heard you say that, I can basically conclude that only people above the War Master level can pass through the gates of hell. As for those who have not reached the War Master level, their minds will be corroded by the blood mist, and they will forever be buried inside." The woman said. Qin Feiyong was startled and said in surprise, "That seems to be the case. That time, when Su Yang and Wu Yan were here, the blood mist had always been there. But when he sent the two of them into the castle, the blood mist immediately dissipated. There was definitely a connection between the two. To be honest, the Great War of the 9 Provinces is very unfair to those war emperors. Because no matter how hard they work, they won't be able to reach the other side." The woman sighed, somewhat angry. How can there be fairness in this world? Strength is the way of the king. If you want to blame someone, you can only blame them for not having the awareness. Qin Feiyong said indifferently. There was no way to sympathize with these people. Because no one forced them to come, they came voluntarily. Moreover, before entering the 9U Yellow Springs, the various big shots had repeatedly said that the 9U Yellow Springs was extremely dangerous, and that they had to act according to their capabilities. But they just didn't listen. What could they do? So, no matter if they lived or died, they couldn't blame anyone else. This was a path they had chosen. The woman was silent for a moment, then nodded. Although what you said is very cruel, it does make sense. Qin Feiyong laughed, turned around and walked in front of Dong Xingyang and the others, and sent a sound transmission. Whether you want to travel with them or not, you decide. The group immediately fell silent. A moment later, Dong Xingyang sent a sound transmission. It's better if we go our own way, so that we don't have to be on guard all the time. It's tiring. Lu Xingchen said. I also think it's better to go our own way. Is that what you all think? Qin Feiyong looked at Shen Long and the others. Dongfang Wuhan, Murong Xiong, Shen Long, and Jiang Wei all nodded. All right, we'll do as you say. Qin Feiyong nodded, turned to look at the woman from Fengzhou, and laughed. We've discussed it, and feel that it's better not to trouble you. So it's like that. The woman couldn't help but feel a trace of disappointment in her eyes. She smiled and said, since that's the case, I won't force you. However, you are all in a bad state right now. I suggest you rest here first and wait until you recover to your peak state before setting off. Thank you. Qin Feiyong cupped his hands and thanked her. Then looked at Dong Xingyang and the others. What she said makes sense. You all rest here. I'll go to the castle with Wolf King. They nodded. Be careful. Qin Feiyong secretly warned them, then took Wolf King to the castle. Inside the castle, Wu Yan and Su Yang had already regained their senses, and the blood on their faces had disappeared. At this moment, the two of them were sitting cross-legged in a corner, talking and laughing about something. Seeing Qin Feiyong appear, the two of them didn't get up, and had a fearless attitude. Wu Yan laughed. Senior brother Qin, I still have to thank you for saving our lives, but I never thought you would have such a special hobby. Su Yang said. Yeah, I've seen all kinds of weird people, but this is the first time I've seen a weird hobby like being scolded by others. There was a hint of ridicule in the two's eyes. Little did they know that they were already in trouble. Qin Feiyong looked at the two of them faintly and said, Are you done talking? Yes. By the way, if you need help in the future, come to us at any time. We are not strong, but we can still scold people. The two of them laughed. Qin Feiyong shook his head and sighed. I've seen a lot of stupid people, but it's the first time I've seen someone as stupid as you two. As soon as this remark came out, Fatso, who was watching the show by the side, moved closer to Wu Yan and Su Yang with a wretched smile. Like Wolf King, he knew Qin Feiyong well. He already knew why Qin Feiyong saved Wu Yan and Su Yang, but he didn't pay attention to it before, letting the two of them be arrogant first. Because the more arrogant they were, the more fun it would be to beat them up. At the same time, Lu Hong, Lin Yi, and the pangolin also opened their eyes, looked at Wu Yan and Su Yang sarcastically, and shook their heads. Only Luo Qianxue seemed to be unaware of it. After all, she was much older than Lin Yi and others. Her mentality was naturally different. At the same time, Shen Mei looked at the expressions of Qin Feiyong and others, and she also showed a look of realization. She secretly transmitted a voice to Ren Wushuang. Just now Wu Yan and Su Yang were talking so seriously. I almost believe that Qin Feiyong has this kind of weird hobby. How is that possible? Ren Wushuang responded. She couldn't tell whether he was happy, angry, or sad. After getting along for so long, how could she not know Qin Feiyong's character? Shen Mei looked at Ren Wushuang with deep meaning and said secretly, It seems that you don't plan to save them. They asked for it. They deserve it. You're tuning in to the Li Mei Sword of Destiny YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.